Joe Biden has cancer. That's not an exaggeration. Well, he had the cancer removed. He's probably got more. I don't know. But Joe Biden had skin cancer removed from his chest. And I feel like the media is going to come out now and go, oh, it's no big deal. It's basal cell carcinoma. It's of the skin cancers, one of the most common. And he cut them off. They've been removed. It's typically not fatal, but it can severely disfigure you. And so let's just put it simply, Biden has had his cancer removed. The crazy thing about it is last year, Biden said he had cancer. And then the media immediately came in to say, no. He misspoke. He said he meant to say he had cancer. Because before he was president, he also had skin cancer removed. So it's like, all right, he's got plates in his brain. He can't talk straight. He's got cancer. Yeah, okay, whatever, I guess. In other news, apparently Andrew Tate has cancer. So that kind of sucks. Cancer is no joke. I feel bad. I'm not here to rag on Biden for having cancer, but I think it's an important thing to talk about. And Andrew Tate apparently has lung cancer, which is much more serious. So we'll get into all of that. And we got some cultural stories, too, of just about marriage and family, things that I think are really interesting. And a woman who had a bunch of cats was being evicted from her home, so she burned her home to the ground with her and the cats in it. And I'm just thinking, like, this is your future. Get married now, before it's too late. And I'm only half kidding. We'll talk about that. Before we get started, my friends, head over to timcast.com. Click that Join Us button to become a member and support our work directly. As a member, you're our customer. See, we don't have a whole lot of sponsors. We could. All these big companies want to sign Timcast IRL. They want to buy out the company because they want us to do like 5 to 6 ads per show. We do like 5 to 6 ads per month. And we didn't even do any ads last month. Because I'd rather have you as customers, as members at timcast.com, pay what you will if you so choose. And then watching our members-only content. That way, when a paying member says, I am concerned about this thing, we say, okay, well, you're the customer, as opposed to a big corporation being like, don't you say naughty words because we're the customer. So if you become a member at timcast.com, you're supporting our endeavors, you're supporting our operation, and you get access to exclusive members-only segments Monday through Thursday live. And we are putting together a private chat server where y'all can hang out as members and then even call into our uncensored after shows. So smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Chrissy Clark.
Hello. Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, who are you? What do you do?
Not much. No, I'm kidding. I'm a reporter for the Daily Caller. I have my own show, Reaction, with Chrissy Clark, obviously. And then I just put out a new documentary called Damage, The Transing of America's Kids, which talks a lot about detransitioners and the medicalization that a lot of them underwent. So.
Right on. Well, thanks for hanging out. This should be fun.
Yeah, it will be.
We got Elad hanging out.
Hey, everybody. What's up? Tim, thanks for having me on. I am Elad Eliyahu, a reporter here for Timcast News.
What's happening, Phil?
Hi, everybody. I am Phil Labonte, lead vocalist for All That Remains, anti-communist and counter-revolutionary.
I'm Ian Crossland. I'm wild and crazy and freakish, all these things. If you, your microphone, you can tilt it towards your face, and then when you move around, you can carry it with you when you move around.
Yeah, that's
Keep
more
going
comfortable.
Yeah, it's easier. Hi, everyone. And we also have Kellen slaying it.
That's right. I'm back. Happy Friday, everyone. Fridays are always the best days, in my opinion. So let's get into it.
This morning, I interviewed Pete Parada, formerly of The Offspring, over at youtube.com/Timcast for the Culture War Podcast, Episode 2. And it went up late. It went up around 2:30 because our internet completely went out. This is what happens when we're in the middle of nowhere, and all of our backups were failing. So it actually took like an hour to upload. But it went up, and it's really interesting. Pete Parada, of course, was replaced in the band The Offspring after 14 years because his doctor said, hey, we recommend you do not get the vaccine due to complications related to Guillain-Barré syndrome. And he went, oh, okay, all right. And he went to the band and said, hey, guys, I don't know if I can do this. The doctor says no. And they were like, get out. So it's a bit more complicated than that, but we talked for a couple hours about this and so much more. It was a really interesting conversation. So if you're interested to hear about that behind the scenes, there's also some really cool insights into what it's like to be in an internationally touring band when COVID happened, and all of a sudden you're like in some foreign country and they're like, hey, everything's locking down. You better get out quick. Check that out, youtube.com/Timcast. And let's jump into the first story. We got this from the Post Millennial. Breaking. Biden has cancerous tissue removed from chest. A statement from the president's physician announced that Biden had a skin lesion on his chest removed at Walter Reed Hospital in D.C., which was later tested and found to be basal cell carcinoma, a type of skin cancer. All right. So that's the news. You may be asking, because I don't want to bury this. I don't want to come out and be like, he's dying, he has cancer. No, hold on. This is the Kelowna Skin Cancer Center Clinic. Kelowna Skin Cancer Clinic. I just looked this up. Is basal cell carcinoma fatal? They say no. The risk of death is extremely low. However, it has the potential to cause significant disfigurement, and that can have a serious impact on your life. The prognosis is excellent. So it's not like Joe Biden is on his deathbed or anything like that. But the reason I think this is important is because we had this story a while ago where on July 22nd, 2022, Joe Biden said he had cancer. He said, where is it at? He has this quote here. And he says, you had to put it on your windshield wipers to get literally oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up with have cancer, and why can, for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation. When he said that, the media was like, no, he meant he had it. Well, apparently he didn't. I mean, apparently this dude has consistently had cancerous lesions on his skin. So, I don't know. It's breaking news. Do you guys think it's significant?
Well, I'm not.
The president has cancer.
It's definitely significant. I don't think it's not surprising because he did tell us he had cancer like last year.
But then the media was like, no.
Also, it's probably not super uncommon for people that are, his age and in that kind of stressful environment to develop some sort of stress reaction. Like, I think cancer can be brought on by stress and diet as much as I don't know if pharma's going to tell you it's brought on by, but a lot of times fixing your diet can, in my opinion.
Skin cancer is usually a product of sun exposure. Usually. But,
yeah, it's another, an environmental stressor as well.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No. My dad passed away of cancer 20 years ago, and it was melanoma. It's, it's not typical for people to die, but Joe Biden is from skin cancer, but Joe Biden is old, so I don't know that this is something that is going to off him, but I imagine it's worth being honest with the American people about. I think the biggest issue here is the fact that, again, the media is doing the PR role for the administration.
Remember that story about Biden being in the shower and then trying to grab the dog's tail and then slipping and breaking his foot or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody, well, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people thought that was cover for something else so they could get him into the hospital. Oh, he hurt his foot. He's got to go to the hospital. And then really they were doing something else.
What was the timeline on that?
On how long he was in the hospital for?
Yeah, or
I don't
when
remember.
he was in. I'm curious.
I don't know, but I mean, if they can go in and remove cancerous tissue that quickly, I wonder if they're at the point where they're just like, look, we can't pretend anymore. We just got to tell people the truth. It's not the first time he's had cancer removed, but I don't know. I'm just the crazy thing is, at first I see this story about Biden having cancer, and I'm like, okay, well, it's serious, no matter how serious the cancer is. But then I just think nobody who likes Joe Biden, well, nobody likes Joe Biden, but nobody who is on the left or liberal cares. The dude could have a heart attack on stage, and they'd be like, well, and they'd make an excuse for it. And then people on the right don't believe he's actually in charge anyway. So does anybody really care that Biden's?
I do. I care. I don't like him, but I care about him. And
I mean politically, is there any concern at all?
So he's an 80-year-old man, and I understand many people in the audience aren't the biggest fans of Joe Biden, but I think we should be praying for this man, given that if he plots, then it's Kamala Harris.
Yeah, seriously.
So it's only getting worse from here, and it's going to get a lot worse. People think Joe Biden's incompetent. I think Kamala Harris is twice as incompetent as Joe Biden. So we should be praying for this 80-year-old man.
Joe Biden used to know some stuff. Kamala Harris has never known a thing ever.
And yeah, they're still trying to drop her. There's been a lot of beef between Biden and Kamala. So I'd be keeping an eye on her, if anything, because if something happens to Biden, I'd be nervous that Kamala was involved.
Yeah,
so.
Or a sick Biden, a really not well guy, makes way poorer decisions. An unhealthy mind is the most dangerous president we could have. I don't even care who it is if someone's got a broken brain. So I want him to become healthy and soak in the tub.
Guys, there's an old saying that the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. And so when you look at Hunter Biden as a human being, You have to wonder about his dad.
I was like, I want to help these people to become healthier. I want Vladimir Zelensky to become healthier. I want Vladimir Putin to become healthier. And then I was like, I want the Russian soldier and the Ukrainian soldier that are shooting at each other to both become healthier. And then I was picturing two guys in a knife fight and trying to get them to both become healthier. And I'm like, I couldn't.
Ian
I was
is
like,
too pure for
it
life.
stops. At some point, I can't heal both of them when they're killing each other.
That's right.
You can't heal one.
Like I don't know who to, like, I do want to, like, elevate and heal people, but when it's like I couldn't like spiritually do it. I was like, there's some sort of blockade, like blur.
So I have an idea here. I think there's something wrong. What I think we see sometimes in politics is where they push politicians who are unhealthy to continue running and continue their role because there's a lot of people attached to them. And I think we saw that in the case with, I don't know exactly what's going on with Dianne Feinstein, but she has shingles and she probably should have retired a long time ago. Joe Biden doesn't seem totally competent. John Fetterman probably didn't need to finish running that campaign after he had the stroke, but it seemed that he was pressured by his wife and others. Chrissy, what do you think about this stuff?
Well, yeah, it's just, I was thinking that the whole Biden thing is so reminiscent of what's going on with John Fetterman. I genuinely know you're talking about this with Ashley the other day too. Like, there's no way that man just has depression. There has to be something else. He's got to be covering up for something else. But at the same time, I counteract myself because I'm like, there's no way his wife just left a man that could be dying of something to go to Canada.
Unless she's like a Stepford wife, like.
Yeah.
I get it though, because if he's incapacitated, and the kids are probably so scared for their dad, and so they're like, let's do something fun. And
Yeah,
it
but
was not Niagara Falls, so it wasn't like they went to the deep runaway to New York, Niagara Falls right across
I'm
the border.
thinking though, like, think about your spouse is running in a primary. They have a stroke. They aren't in the best of health. And the campaign is not an easy thing to run. There's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of stress. Reporters are hounding you. I was one of the reporters hounding them. And she was like, no, let's stay in the race through the general and one of the most contentious elections, Senate races. It's an extremely close Senate race. And that takes a toll on your health. So you have to think about like what a lot of these people around them are putting some of these politicians through. And you have to worry if Joe Biden is okay. And again, we're praying that he is, because if he does plot or resign, it's not getting better.
I don't know. I don't know if I think it'll be that different.
I think Kamala Harris has a different team around her. I think they're completely...
You think Kamala Harris has a team?
I mean, yeah, and I think she has a different team around her that think that she's incompetent. Like, she also did very poorly across the country when she was running for president. I don't even think she polled well in California.
She quit before the California primary, so that way she didn't get hosed and lose her entire political career. Because she was gonna get trounced in California
By Andrew Yang.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine Kamala Harris interacting with different world leaders too in a serious way. She'd just have that nervous laugh. I don't trust her with her hands on the nuclear button.
I think that
I'm kind of, whether it's Trump, I mean, I think Trump would do a good job, but I got to be honest, we're going to talk a little bit later about this cat lady burning down her house. And then I just think about it and I'm just like, maybe we just need some hard times, man. I think we'll all be fine. I think everybody who listens to a show like this is probably fine. We got so many people who are like, look, I bought chickens. I got out of the city. And I'm just like, I think most people will be fine. And I think the reality is I wouldn't want to pull a Bill Maher and be like, bring on the recession to get rid of Trump. But I would want to say something like, guys, whether you want it to or not, the storm is a brewing. And we can see the clouds off on the horizon. Whether it comes now or whether it comes tomorrow, you best get ready for it. But you know what? That storm's going to come and wash away all this BS.
I've toyed with the idea of let it get worse sooner so that it can get better faster. I don't think it really works that way. If you let things get bad, they get really bad and out of control. And when things are out of control, the World Economic Forum creates a new government.
I'm not saying to let things get out of control. I'm saying brace yourself for the storm.
Yeah.
And I'm saying whether it's Biden or Kamala, that storm's coming either way.
But let's weather the storm.
The thing is, to Tim's point, the more people you have prepared for hard times and for the storm or whatever, like the less impact the people have on the people that are unprepared. So the more people you have that are prepared, the more capable they are of helping the people that are unprepared. So it's just a good idea to have some kind of ability to fend for yourself, have some food stored up, have a week or two, maybe a couple months, depending on your ability, But
A
a
lot
good
of people
idea.
have chickens. How do you defend your chickens? What's the best defense? Electric fence?
Guns.
Mil spec AR-15,
So like
5.56.
like actual guard on duty. Beyond a guard on duty, electric fence.
A stud rooster.
Well, for Cocktown, we have an electric fence, and that mostly keeps out the predators. Though some of the roosters have jumped over it because, I mean, they're dumb, and they're looking for girls, and there's no girls. But I don't blame them. Like if I was in a big room full of dudes, and they were like, outside's dangerous, I'd be like, yeah, but it's like, oh, nothing but dudes in here.
But if someone tries to steal the chicken, it's basically you need a guard on duty.
I mean, depending on what's happening, I wouldn't want to end a human being's life over a chicken, you know? But if we're talking about like the apocalypse, and you've got banditos who are trying to come and steal your food, and that could kill you, and then you got to really think about that. But I want to go back to my point. My point was just this. You see these videos of these like morbidly obese millennials and Gen Zers being like, why do I have to have a job? I should be allowed to just sleep all day. And I'm kind of like, maybe life's too good. You know what I mean? Like, look, right now, and I'm not talking about hardworking Americans. You got a dude working at a steel mill who's barely scraping by, and you contrast that with morbidly obese young people who are like, I don't want a job. I'm not saying the dude at the steel mill needs a harder life. I'm saying he's already working hard. She's already working hard. I'm saying we got too many young people who don't work hard at all. Extract from the system. Vote for government to take money from the people who are working to give to people who aren't. You know, people talk about how communism is coming. And we played that video the other day where this teacher talks about socialism. And she said she gives her whole class a shared grade. And then the grades slowly go down. Because like so the story was the students were like, socialism works. And she said, okay, then we'll average all of your grades so nobody fails, but nobody gets an A either. And they said, great, let's do it. The hard workers who study really hard get Bs. And the lazy people got Bs. And so the lazy people were like, this is great, I don't got to do anything. And the hard workers were like, even though I worked hard, I got nothing. Screw that. I'm not going to do any work. And the grades kept dropping. So I'm saying we're already there, man. We're already there. If you are listening to this and you work in a warehouse and you're a forklift operator, you're a truck driver, you are facing hardship, you're facing lockdowns, you're a contractor, you're a carpenter, you're whatever. You're doing physical labor every day. And you know your buying power is being diminished because there are morbidly obese Gen Z and millennials sitting in big cities voting to take your money from you and then going on TikTok and being like, I should have to have a job.
Yeah, this is my problem with Medicare for All. I don't want to pay for people that are intentionally or self-inflicting damage on themselves, either through eating sugar. That was my big one. And Jimmy Dore, we had on the show, one of the biggest proponents of Medicare for All that I know. And I said that to him. I don't want it. And he's like, well, what about people that go skiing and break their leg? Like, is that self-inflicted? Good argument, Jimmy. But then I was like, but another big problem I have is the people that make the medicine make the sugar. It's the same industry. I don't have the paperwork to show it, but I know that the pharma food industry is connected. And they're very happy to sell you sugar and then sell you the medicine to heal the cancer later. So I don't want to medicate. I don't want Medicare I don't want to pay for people's lazy or ignorance. And even Jimmy was like, that's a good point. He didn't have an answer for that. So I don't like Medicare for All. And not on the straight up, like, let's pay for everyone's inconsistencies. No.
This is hilarious. So I got this Coke right here that I'm drinking, and it's like the glass bottle pure sugar one. And it says it's got 39 added sugars, which is 78% of your daily sugar intake.
Dear God.
That is a lot of sugar.
Based on a 2,000 calorie diet.
Yeah, based on like probably 10 times more sugar than you're actually supposed to have. So you're probably getting 700% of your daily sugar in that.
I don't
Yeah.
think
That's a guess, but like you're probably getting more than what the number on the bottle is actually. So you're not supposed to eat refined sugar. It's crazy. It's so powerful.
I'm gonna poll the audience on this one and just ask you guys and everybody here. Do you think young people need hard work right now?
Yeah, and I actually think that one of the best things that older generations can do is to pull young people into some sort of religious or general community. I feel like I watch it time and time again. I'm Gen Z. I'm 25 years old. My generation's completely lost on religion, and you have to see these study after study show that people are depressed, and yet the religion is ticking down. Your true freedom does not come from being able to sleep with whoever you want to sleep with. Your true freedom comes from peace, and peace comes from hard work. If you have none of that, where are you going to end up? sad, depressed, fat on TikTok. And I think that the best thing you can do is, if you're that steel worker that goes to church every Sunday, invite your fat millennial, okay? Like, invite them to church, because to me, that's where the community gets built, and that's where people get happy and feel free.
I think a part of the reason why people don't want to work hard anymore is also a result of the eroding results that come from it. And I'm directly citing, like, Columbia University is no longer requiring SAT or ACT scores in undergraduate admissions. So, like, why is anybody motivated to work hard and try to do well in admissions anymore? People need to be cynical nowadays, and that's the way to get ahead. You need to cynically wield your identity when applying to Columbia University. You need to write some BS in your college essay, and you're more likely to get in than if you work hard on your SAT or ACTs.
Well,
So
I think
did you see that Delta? I think it was United Airlines. They announced the all LGBTQ crew.
they got laughed
What?
at.
Yeah. They were like, "This is the Pride plane, and the crew is all LGBTQ." And I'm just like, so did like HR ask all of the applicants about their sexual, proclivities?
Probably.
Like, imagine you're like, "I'm a pilot. I would like this job," and they go, "Okay, and how many flight hours do you have?" "Oh, yeah, that's a lot." "And do you sleep with men or women?" And then the pilot's like, "Men." Like, "Oh, so you're gay? Okay, we'll put that down." Well,
They
we have a
asked
great
for-
opportunity for you.
They asked for volunteers. They're like, look, this is what we want to do. If there are any members of the LGBT community that work for Delta, please, blah, blah, blah. This is what our plan is. It's
But
cynical. It's garbage.
Yes,
it's not
yes.
even June.
But here's my point. As we move towards automation, one thing that Andrew Yang didn't quite capture is that if there are no skill-based requirements for a job because the AI is doing it, then it's going to be identity-based requirements for the job.
Yeah.
If anybody can press the button, then they're going to go for the disabled, trans, person of color, whatever, and be like, well, I mean, look, if you're a company like in California, they have board requirements now, or something like that. I'm pretty sure like they passed a law and they were like, your board has to have X
Yeah.
many people of color and females. So they're going to be like, can we get all of that in one person? And so if they got to hire somebody, but anyway, look, as more things become automated, you're going to have someone at a McDonald's and their job's going to be to watch the machines. And if they break, to then call someone. Well, if there's no qualification, it's going to be identity. You go to Walmart and it's all self-checkouts basically, which is really annoying. And they got one person just standing there. There's no real qualifications for the job other than you have to be there. Well, then it's going to be identity-based.
yeah, if our institutions start to creep more towards caring about DEI for reasons to hire people, then it will come at the cost of people's merit and actual skill at the jobs. Not only are we seeing the SATs and ACTs being disregarded, but also in law schools, we're seeing them be disregarded. The MCATs are being disregarded now as well. It's like, these are the things I want my doctors to know. I want my lawyer to be able to do really well on the LSAT. I want my doctors to be able to have the best scores on the MCATs. I don't care if you're a black, Indian, Jewish, or whatnot. So
Well, we did see some good news today out of Texas A&M. Their system cut their diversity, equity, and inclusion statements for admission, which is the first country or first university in the country to do away with all that crap. And I think it might have been the New York Times, some woke place was talking on and on about how George Floyd inspired DEI, and now a couple years later, all the DEI jobs are dying.
That's all just a lie. That's
Yeah,
all
I was like,
manipulation,
first of
and
all-
they can screw themselves. It's
Yeah.
all manipulation.
First of all, this is the first college we're seeing. So how would that be accurate that the New York Times is saying that when this is one of the first colleges across the nation, and it's a pretty conservative college relatively?
It turns out that Vanguard is pulling out of ESG. Did you guys see? It's
What?
a third of the
Sick.
global capital is out.
Really?
Yeah, pull this up, dude. This is like a 2-week-old article.
That's a
it's
big
$50
deal.
trillion. They're not playing this game. They're going economic.
While you pull it up, there's one, like I want to, like you had mentioned, someone had mentioned talking about like why kids are depressed. Like human beings are
Well, this is Vanguard's CEO.
This is
pulls out of the
huge.
Net Zero Managers Initiative and affirms his fiduciary duty to clients.
We should have. This is day
Wow.
one,
That's what it
top
should be.
world
This
class
was
news.
this is almost it's like a week and a half ago. Yeah, seriously, this is them being like, "Hey, get woke, go broke. We lost too much money, and now we have no choice." but to pull
ESG's
out."
done. This is it. This is it. The blood has been sucked out of the body.
It's not done.
I
It's
mean-
it's this is good, but that ESG is pushed by ideologically motivated people. So that's like saying that a religion is done.
Okay, it's not done, but this is an example of capitalism not functioning with communism. Communism is not profitable, and the capitalist system won't use it.
Well, I mean, it's good that people are recognizing that ESG is not good for results for companies and stuff like that. And it is communism, and it's not particularly, it's not intended or simply melded with capitalism. But if you look at China, then that refutes your argument there, because China has a at least a surface level communist society, and they have markets, and that's what China did. China took the basics of Marxism. Maoism is Marxist-Leninism with Chinese characteristics, and all they've done is manage to implement markets, but they still have the control, and they still use the ideology of communism to control the opinions of the population. Because America, we kind of get this general sense that everyone in China feels like they're oppressed and stuff, and I don't think that that's the case. I don't think 1.5 billion people all hate their government and are just waiting for the second to rise up. It's way more complex than that. So I just think that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know how profitable Chinese companies are realistically, like real profit, like thriving.
Profit doesn't matter in modern monetary theory, bro. They are printing money, and the system has become so big. The petrodollar has become so big. They know that it's almost impossible to shake the confidence in the value of the dollar. So they can just mass print the money and spend it wherever they want without a thought.
No, not really. Thomas Massey actually was just talking about this. The last $5 trillion that was printed was actually just created out of thin air. Normally it's loaned.
Right, they always do that.
No, normally they loan it out. Thomas Massey's brilliant, man.
He is.
And he pointed out that we actually just diluted our economy. I thought it was always just printed out of thin air, but apparently it's been on the books, and then we're allowed to get it loaned to us.
Banks,
and so we know ahead of time how much is going to be there.
The money supply is expanded when a bank issues a loan.
And now this last time they just...
It is created. It is not... When a bank is issuing a loan, the money is fabricated in that moment.
Yeah.
They then just put in your account, the money exists. Congratulations.
So I would push back that I think modern monetary theory is profitable, and that's why it worked, and that what they're doing now isn't modern monetary theory. You're supposed to take out a huge loan, invest it in infrastructure, then you make more than what you took out, and you pay back the loan. That's modern monetary theory.
I don't think that that's accurate.
Well, that's the idea. That's what they did after World War II. They
That's
took out more.
That's not modern monetary theory. Modern monetary theory is based on the idea that because the issuing country requires that the people of the country pay taxes in the currency that was issued, that means that the currency is always going to have value because you have to pay taxes with that currency.
Are you sure there's no premise of building infrastructure with the loan?
That's policy. That's not monetary policy. That's infrastructure policy. Those are two different things.
They have created demand for the currency by force. If you do not pay what you owe, we will lock you up. Therefore, people are always going, I need dollars. And as long as someone needs the dollars, the economy will keep on churning. But this also means, as a component of it, taxes aren't being paid so that we can go to war. The war in Ukraine is not tax dollars. They fabricate this money, and it extracts the buying power from your bank account. So your $500 in your bank doesn't move at all, doesn't change, but what you can buy with $500 does.
Yep.
And if today, I was talking about this a year ago with the COVID stimulus and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. I put a tablet in my Amazon cart and then forgot to buy it, and then like a day later opened up Amazon and it said, "Alert! Prices have changed," and it went up like $130. And I was like, whoa, if I bought that like a week ago, I would have saved a lot of money.
Almost every time I order something on Amazon that I've ordered in the past, I'll check my old order invoice to look at the old price versus what I'm about to pay because I'm fascinated with the changes in price. I'll see like a 10% change here and there.
Inflation's a real thing. That's what Tim's talking about. But when it comes to like taxation and stuff, they tax to control inflation. So like when you say, when people talk about paying taxes to pay bills, you don't pay taxes to pay bills. The whole point of you paying taxes is so that way there's less currency moving through the system. It's literally taking money from you specifically so you have less money.
Is that why taxes started up, or was that if they wanted to do that, the Fed could just increase their rates?
No, that's not. That's the Fed increases the interest rates. That's the cost of borrowing money. The taxation is what you have to pay to the federal government
to control inflation.
Yeah, and that's like Tim said, it controls inflation.
They
suck up the money and
you
then they
think
burn
the government
it.
uses taxes as a tool to control inflation?
That's a fact.
I don't just think it.
I understand.
That's a fact, actually.
That's how.
That is literally
That's modern monetary theory.
That is modern monetary theory.
They're supposed to deflate, but they might be using it. I don't know.
The U.S. government can create money if they want to. Quantitative easing through the Fed, or Barack Obama issued that stimulus, or as Ian pointed out, the last $5 trillion was just fabricated. The purpose of paying taxes is not so that money can be used for war. Technically, you can say it is, but it's to control for inflation because the government can manifest money wherever they want. But if they do too much, you'll get runaway inflation. So they need to then bring down the money supply inverse.
But like on the state and local level, they're collecting
Of course.
taxes to help pay for
That's
whatever,
because they're not the-
property taxes.
But
and
federally
so the
is
federal
different.
taxes. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
because state and localities don't issue the currency.
Yeah, I just thought that the most effective tool to control inflation, though, would be Feds changing the rates and influencing the money
They
supply.
do it in a they combine it.
If the U.S. government is, through various means, or the economy is expanding the money supply, and there's no controls for that, you get runaway inflation. You look at these countries where they just mass print money, they get $1 trillion bills, and then all of a sudden it's worthless overnight because it's hyperinflation. So you need a way to restrict the money supply to make sure things don't get out of control so the system doesn't break.
You'll find the Thomas Massey video I'm referencing is where he pours water into the iced tea to explain dilution of the economy, and everyone's like, "Grr." I mean, I don't know what they're doing, but he's like explaining to like third graders. It's really awesome. So if you type Thomas Massey iced tea, you might find it on the internet.
So, like with Nordic countries, they have super high tax rates. That's they are trying to control.
No,
And okay,
they can't issue petrodollars. So for some of these countries, it probably is true, but the U.S. is the global reserve currency. So we can just fabricate money. We don't need to manufacture
apparently,
goods.
according to Massey, all the countries of Earth as well inflated the crap out of their economy when we printed that $5 trillion, and that's the only reason or the main reason why we haven't gone under.
Yeah,
because everyone's
we
100%.
print out a ton of money, but China prints out even more, and it's interesting how their economy works. But Chrissy, do you have any thoughts on all this money talk?
I am learning so much right now. Can I just say that? I'm like, this is over my head in terms of like my everyday thing, and I'm fascinated because I'm just learning so much. Don't you love being the stupidest person in the room?
oh hell yeah.
It's the best.
All you gotta do is listen.
hold on. For all you know, we're all really dumb and just talking out our asses.
I don't know if Phil's right. I'm gonna have to fact check everything later.
Yeah, I thought
never-
it was about the money supply and the Fed, but hey, I'm willing to be wrong.
I've never
have
had
fun.
I've never had a thought of my own. I only repeat things that I've heard, so I'm not smart.
I'm
at
in
all.
Wait a
that
minute. But I only learned this from you, Phil.
Wait, so
And you
who
only learned it from me.
Sometimes I make stuff
who are
up,
you
I'll be honest.
citing? What is your source?
You can actually Google modern monetary theory and you can Bing it if you feel dirty.
Hey, be
You know,
careful.
if
They
you
might have
want.
changed the definition though. I thought
That's
that it was
true.
about investing in infrastructure, but are you?
That's policy. Modern monetary theory is the policy that the government has regarding the monetary policy. The policy you're talking about is like infrastructure policy. So like they would take loans or create money so that way they could pay people that are going to build buildings or whatever.
Like the New Deal?
Yeah, that's stimulating the economy. That's different than creating the money that goes into the economy. You know what I mean? Like the monetary policy that they have is different than like an infrastructure policy. They're different things.
Wasn't there like $1 trillion missing from like the Pentagon's books or something?
Happens a lot apparently.
Yeah.
All right, my
trillion.
conspiracy on that is that we're making a special little something. Okay, that's too much money to just go missing. All right, so
Right.
Right,
Do
but-
you remember it was like not September
It's-
10th? It was right before 9/11.
But it might not be like one chunk of $2 trillion. It might just be accounting errors.
yeah, we
like,
hope not. But in that case,
Accounting
but-
errors can be scary. I'll tell you that, because if somebody carries a 1 in the wrong place, then all of a sudden your tax preparer comes to you and says, oh, you actually owe $7,000 more, and you're like, whoa, how is it possible? Like, I'm overpaid. And they go, oh, I carried a 1 in the wrong spot. It looked like you had more money than you did. And I'm like, thank you. That's crazy. So when it comes to the auditing problems with the Pentagon and the Federal Reserve, we need to audit them.
Here it is. Donald Rumsfeld in 2001 announced that the Pentagon had lost, the Department of Defense had lost more than $2.3 trillion. Lost.
But hold on.
2.3
What's your
trillion.
source?
This is a video from How Money Works,
Yeah,
referencing.
I want a real
Brew.
source.
I mean, I've heard this story for 2 decades.
Yeah, the story I heard was they could not account for $2.3 trillion.
Yeah, but they're failing audits.
But that means the money is just not tracked properly. It could still be in their bank. It could have been spent somewhere, but someone gave $100,000 to one department and then didn't write it down. And so they're like, where did that money go? I don't remember, but it's still there. You know
This
what I mean?
from Armstrong Economics says the Office of the Inspector General has reported that the Department of Defense is missing $6.5 trillion, up from $2.3 trillion. This is due to an increase in government spending under the Obama administration from 2.9 to 3.9.
Well, all right.
That's insane. So they're missing $6.5 trillion. I mean, that's absolutely scandalous. The government has gone rogue. I don't know what to do. Thomas Jefferson's the man.
It's so scandalous, no one even cares.
Let's talk about some cultural stuff real quick.
Yes.
Please.
Well,
We had this story from the Post-Millennial. Daily Wire's Jeremy Boring launches new chocolate company in response to Hershey's woke trans stunt. They did this so fast. I am impressed. I will play for you the video right now.
That's because they're just rewrapping chocolate that exists.
Well, but that's all chocolate is. Like all these, everyone's got a coffee company.
Yeah.
Like I did not buy a coffee roaster, and then I think Jeremy at the Quartering literally did.
Oh,
But,
really?
Yeah. What we did was we found a provider. We talked to them about the blend that we wanted and the kind of coffee that we like, and they're creating for us a specific thing, and then we put our label on it because it's our version of a coffee. They'll make a bunch of different kinds of coffee. What we're doing is combining the ones we like, and then selling it under our name. But here's a commercial for you guys.
International Women's Day is
I got it. Hold on. There we go.
upon us again, and I love an international woman. But our friends over at Hershey's, they don't even know what a woman is. They've hired a biological male to be the spokesperson for their Women's Day campaign. And they're calling that campaign, and I swear I'm not making this up, Her-She. Her-She. It's humiliating. And it's the
And that was
reason that
pretty
I'm
clever,
launching Jeremy's chocolate. We have two kinds. She, her, and he, him. One of them's got nuts. If you need me to tell you which one it is, keep giving your money to
Look at Michael, he's
If
laughing.
you're tired of giving your money to woke corporations that hate you, and you're looking for a delicious chocolate bar from a company that actually wants your business, head over to IHateHershey's.com and order Jeremy's chocolate today.
I'm sorry, man. The Daily Wire does awesome stuff. This is brilliant.
Brilliant.
I said when the whole Hershey Women's Day trans thing happened, I was like, you shouldn't boycott Hershey because they hired a trans person. Okay, you should not do that. You should boycott Hershey because it's disgusting garbage sugar that kills you, and you should eat an avocado or something.
I thought you were going to make a ginger joke about the trans person.
Yeah, if it doesn't say fair
no,
trade,
no.
they're probably using slave labor to acquire the cacao if it doesn't say fair trade on the packaging.
What if the Daily Wire chocolate is like the most brutal dictatorial chocolate?
Oh, Jeremy, get fair trade, bro. I'll buy it if it's fair trade.
I want it more now.
If not, I gotta say, Brett Cooper held it down in that video. She's awesome. I think as an actor, she's gonna be like a superstar in the world. And is just now building up the comment section. But she was a child actor in Hollywood, and they hired her.
So when you go to I Hate Hershey's, it actually brings you to jeremy'srazors.com. And then you can buy Jeremy's chocolate binary. Brilliant.
Nuts and nutless.
Nuts and nutless. And I'll tell you what they did. They probably, as soon as this happened, they had someone design she, her, he, him. They probably bought a chocolate bar from Walgreens or whatever supermarkets they have in Nashville, and then just printed out the paper, wrapped it around the thing for a prop. Then they called a bespoke chocolate labeler, and they said, we want to sell the chocolate, and they said, we can have it packaged for you. Because when you go to Hershey Park, you can actually get your own bar made. There's this thing where you walk into this room, and then you pick what you want. Like, I want white chocolate with toffee bits, and then I want it covered in dark chocolate.
Hershey, Pennsylvania?
Yeah,
Yeah, I went to that factory once.
Yeah, we went there a little while ago. I won't go there now, but they make a box and everything. And the funny thing is, when I went there, they do this thing where they take the first 3 letters of your last name and then put it on your bar. So when I got my chocolate with nuts and it was lumpy and brown, it had the first 3 letters of my last name on the box. And so I went to the woman who was running it. I said, ma'am, can I get a different label for this box? And it was a young man first, and he goes, no, you can't. And I was like, my guy,
not.
I am not going to spend like $50 on a poo bar. You gotta give me a better box for this. If you told me they would do that, I would not have put my last name on the box. And so then the lady came over, looked at it, and started laughing. And I was kind of perturbed that they told me, no, you're the poo bar. And so when the lady came back and started laughing, at first I was a little irked, but I started laughing too, and I was like, it's amazing, isn't it? And then she took it and she gave me a new box. But they like, there's a machine that does it all. So I didn't get the properly sealed box like everybody else got because mine said poo on it. They had to give me a stock box and then just drop it in there and then tape it shut. And I'm like, you can't win. But that anyway.
Some people got it rough.
Anyway, story aside, you should like. I'll probably end up. I think I'm going to buy a crap load of this stuff. I think I'm going to buy like 500 bars, and I'm going to have them downstairs for guests and for employees, and it's going to be funny because you're going to walk in and it's. It actually says nuts and nutless on them.
I know, nutless. Nutless. I love it. I love it. I love Jeremy. I love Daily Wire, but I don't want a sugar. That's my only downside. If it was a product like a meatless meat
Yo,
or whatever.
look, the
No,
worst-
That's not what I mean.
The worst thing about when I try to get that Hershey bar is that I put everything in it. So like when I was what it is it's like a bowl. It's a chocolate bar with an edge around it to hold the stuff in. And I was like, I want white chocolate chips. I want chocolate chips. I want toffee bits. So it created this big mound, and then it blankets it in what's it called? Enrobes it in chocolate.
Enrobes
That's
it.
what they call it.
Nice.
And so what comes out, everyone else has like this thin, normal looking bar, and mine's lumpy and weird looking. And then they wrote poo on it, and I was just like, come on,
Photo
man.
op.
I probably should have just taken it and
Tim
like,
Poo
that's right,
What are
that's
the
right.
odds of that?
with
But
the
it-
big lumpy chocolate.
I was like, I would have put a fake name if you told me you were going to do that.
Was it good when you ate it?
Yeah,
Of course it was. It was
Was
chocolate.
it like too
Yeah,
many
it's-
ingredients? Because it
No,
like harkens back to the day of when I had no money at Subway, and I'd be like, extra everything, and then
Yes.
that would be my meal.
Dude, I'd go to Wendy's and I would be like, I would like the dollar menu junior, cheeseburger deluxe or whatever, and I want quadruple extra tomato, quadruple extra lettuce, and quadruple extra cheese, like whatever's free. And then some places the cheese is like cheese is extra, but sometimes they would tell me they didn't care, and I'd be like, how many tomatoes can I get? And they'd be like, I don't know, tomatoes are free, and I was like, can I get 7? And they'd be like, I guess, and I'm like, I need food, I'm poor.
Yes.
Fill your belly.
So there's
I'm
a lot
gonna
of
order
people
this
who
right now,
aren't
actually.
like the biggest fans of the Daily Wire, that aren't the most bullish on the Daily Wire. And I think, the chocolate bar is a little bit gimmicky, the he, him, the nutless stuff, even though that's a great line, it's a little bit gimmicky. But I think you really do need to give the Daily Wire so much credit because they do so many different things across the board between Matt Walsh is lobbying for different bans against, these conversions, these trans conversion surgeries in Tennessee, or signing Jordan Peterson or Jeremy's Razors, or I know they're also doing children's books. And Chrissy, maybe you could tell me a little bit of some of their other projects going on, but they're just really willing to work on these other projects. And I think a lot of people in the right-wing movement or conservative movement aren't willing to put as many risks out like the Daily Wire seems to be doing. So I'm really bullish on them, and I think they're doing a great job, and they should continue doing stuff like this in the space.
I agree.
I'm at Daily Caller, not
Or Daily Caller.
Wire.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's at a different company. What are
Were you
doing?
previously at Daily Wire?
Yeah, I was.
Okay. So previously at.
I'm ordering $2,000 worth of Jeremy's chocolate right now.
Do it.
I'm not even
What's
joking.
the website? IHateHershey's.com.
Yeah. And,
Oh, they're getting some orders tonight.
Yeah, I'm ordering 480 bars.
How many hims? How many hers?
You should.
It's half of each. It's 240 of each.
I wonder if they made a trans flavor, like a half nut, half not,
I think that's the whole.
or
point.
just whole nut if it's yeah.
Whole nut would be a good.
Well, because no matter you
sales
can't make it
pitch.
half and half either way, right? There's no way to get to half and.
Order confirmed.
give me the nuts.
in the trans
almonds.
man chocolate bar, there's just random things.
But they could do a bunch of stuff that would be like funny to make fun of. You
Yeah,
could
why don't
like,
they do like trans women and just send you a bag of nuts?
That's
But they could do like I don't know. They're doing nuts and nutless. It's like, okay, what else do you got? You can make like cookies and cream, and then or you could do one where it's white chocolate with I'm sorry, no, it's got to be like banana cream with white chocolate inside, and they could make like an Americanized Asian joke or something.
You know what I would really love is a white and dark chocolate swirl bar. If you can pull that off.
They could make
do
like
that,
an American flag bar, and they could be like, we don't need none of this.
There you go.
We're Americans. I mean, actually, that's a really cool thing. Do they
like
have
that
that?
better. I
freeze dried
like that
strawberry in it or something.
Well, imagine this. Imagine you like open the wrapper and it's an American flag, but it's a candy bar, and you got like strawberry, white chocolate, and I guess blueberry.
do
or
that.
something.
You can
Watch
do
the food coloring. Don't use that pharmaceutical coal tar, yellow 5 lake and crap like that, or what is it, petroleum based?
I have no idea.
Food coloring. Yeah, the yellow 5
seed
lake
oils
is.
or something.
But no, I no joke. I just ordered 20. I think I ordered 20 packs.
Nice.
So that's, what is that, 24 packs, 480. It was $2,000. But we run a business here, and I'm pretty sure that when we have guests here, when they go down and it's not about eating them, it's about seeing it,
Okay.
and people are going to be like, that's awesome. So it's an important business purchase,
Dude, whoever-
in terms of like,
it's important to support Daily
It's
Wire
smart,
because
yeah.
you like their projects, and if you think what they're doing is cool, then supporting them is great.
Who do you think
this was
came up?
fast. They did it in like 6 hours.
Yeah. Who do you think came up with nutless? Let's take a toll. I think it was Jeremy.
Dude, okay, hold on.
I don't know.
The Daily Wire guys were sitting around and like I'm imagining Jeremy smoking a cigar and he's like, we should make a chocolate bar to like make fun of Hershey's. And someone's like, oh dude, we should call it Nut and Nutless. And like, that's a great idea. And they're like
Yes.
all laughing and like Michael Knowles comes in and they're high-fiving each
Just
other.
like, do it.
I think Knowles came up with it. He doesn't get enough credit. He's smart. He's a smart guy.
Candace Owens suggested I start a hair care line. And I was like, damn, when Candace Owens tells you should start a company, you should probably start the company. It's kind of like Rogan telling you should do this, start doing it.
Why was she complimenting your hair?
Yeah, she was
quality?
like, you got great, whatever. She didn't give me the compliment. She was just like, you should do that. And I'm like, yeah, man, they are set up now, Daily Wire, where they have that whole system ready to go. If they want to start a business, they got the lawyers, they got the business contacts. They're like, make it happen. And then they have a chocolate company, make it happen. So it's like, once you get into that echelon of friendship or like compatriots, then
They're also
you
doing
start to-
entertainment. I think they're trying to compete with Netflix too and make their own shows. I think they hired somebody who got fired from Disney, if I'm not mistaken, and tried to make a movie with them. They're doing a ton of projects. Good for them.
Let's jump to this story we got from CNBC, and it's both sad and funny at the same time. Resumes including they them pronouns are more likely to be overlooked, new report finds. Well, gee, I'm so shocked. Inclusivity shouldn't just be present in the workplace, it should be practiced during the hiring process, but unfortunately, non-binary job seekers are facing clear biases during their job search. According to a new report from business.com, a business resource platform, over 80% of non-binary people believe that identifying as non-binary would hurt their job search. Similarly, 51% believe their gender identity has affected their workplace experience very or somewhat negatively. I gotta make a point. If you wrote down on your resume that you identify as a globadoop, right? Globadoop. They're not gonna hire you. They're gonna. I don't know what this is. This is weird. And they're gonna
This
say
is
have a nice day.
giving me Dwight.
They don't hire
Schrute vibes.
Globadoops here.
My point is this. No, we do actually. But my point is, if an employer looks at a resume and they're like, "What the does that mean?" They're not going to hire you because they'll be like, "I have no idea what this is."
Yeah, they'll put it to the back of the pile immediately.
Yeah, they're going to say, "Look, man, I don't know what you're talking about."
At first.
They them like what is this? Non-binary is a made-up thing in the past several years. No one even understands.
I know that gender and sex are different, and sexuality is different than sex. You can be male, you can have a sexuality that's I like guys or girls, but like there's the reason that jobs don't ask for your sexual preference when you're signing up because you don't want to be discriminated against.
Why
so don't
on-
offer it.
Like literally, if you hire, like you are hiring a lawsuit. You are hiring an HR problem if you hire someone.
No, but
that,
do these resumes go to a separate pile that then get sent to HR? So when they're like, I need a diversity hire, they got their stack right there.
not if you're smart.
I have
No,
one.
I'm not saying it's a smart tactic. I'm just saying that's what they
Hey,
need to do to diversity hire.
I mean, maybe. I think that you can probably achieve diversity hires without going for you could because the thing is if you hire someone that has she, her, or he, him pronouns, right? You're probably going to get a person that is just looking to go to work and do their job and looking to just live their life however they want. If you hire someone whose pronouns are zer, zim, you're hiring someone that's going to make your job a living hell. They're going to ruin your workplace. They're going to come in and they're going to bring their ideology along with them. And every business is going to be like, it is way easier to avoid people that use neo pronouns or they, them pronouns and just hire people that use she and her and he and him. You may end up with trans people and that's fine because they're just normal trans people that are just looking to live their lives, not politically queer people that are activists that are looking to ruin your company.
That's a good point. I think in general that's probably true. There are probably, I'm sure, instances where someone would have Z-Zer and they're totally cool. But I think when you got to make huge decisions about thousands of people, you don't have time to go person by person. You got to make split-second decisions and stuff.
Are people really putting their pronouns? Like, is this a normal thing? Because I'm looking at templates right now, and even like the big websites aren't saying that you should be putting your pronouns in your.
This is probably an outlier, and
Yeah.
that's the reason it got such attention because it's like, yo.
I have
we're
one
looking at
word of business advice for people, and this is key to know your audience. So the only place where pronouns in your resume might help is, I don't know, Media Matters or the ACLU or CNN. But if you're applying somewhere else, then it probably wouldn't be the best idea. You always have to tailor your resume a little bit to the job you want. So if it is a leftist organization, they probably would like the they, them, or the pronouns in the resume. But otherwise, probably your best bet to not put it in.
Here's the issue. It may be that very few people are actually putting they, them in their resumes. And the media, looking for some issue, decides to write about this fringe group of people that aren't that numerous. Here's an example. This is great. Christopher Rufo tweeted, "It's a sign of immense progress that in a search for racism, publications like the New York Times have to invent increasingly niche and implausible incidents of supposed bigotry, such as woman with large dreadlocks has trouble finding equestrian helmet." The New York Times wrote an article that says, "Black equestrians want to be safe, but they can't find helmets. For black riders with natural hair, finding a helmet that fits can be virtually impossible. Some are trying to raise awareness for the problem, but manufacturers say it's not a simple fix." I love this because he was like, quote, "I'm having trouble finding a horse riding helmet. It's racism, bro." And it's like a white dude with dreadlocks too. So like, this is kind of the point. The media is like, we found a person who has chosen to have long hair and now a helmet won't fit. Racism. That's the thing. Like CNBC writing about non-binary people is just trying to create some kind of injustice narrative to get clicks and make money.
I get disability. Build me a ramp so that I can get into the front of the building. I get that. But when it comes to like my head doesn't fit in your helmet, you don't force someone to build you a helmet. That's totalitarianism.
You hire them.
You build your own helmet. Or you start a company and hire people to help you make it.
You go to a helmet maker and be like, "I would like a helmet that can fit my dreads." And they're going to be like, "Bro, your hair's too big. The helmet's got to be snug and protect your brain."
No,
they're going to go,
you show up at a place, you say, "Look, the helmet doesn't fit. It's racism. Now I get to be in charge." That's literally what they're doing.
That's a good idea.
That's exactly what critical theories are. Call stuff racist until you control it.
Did you see
James Lindsay right there?
New study that like 93% of kids in America can now demonstrate or understand at least one tenet of critical race theory? Like if you thought about critical race theory 5 years ago, thinking that it would have a 93% success rate, that's unreal.
I question that number though. Where did you get? Is that like a poll or something?
Yeah,
it was like 1,000 people polled.
Yeah,
It's difficult to pin down a tenet of critical race theory because it becomes this kind of amorphous idea. But I understand more general. But it's hard to
but
like.
you're talking about school kids, right? These are kids that are still in like K through 12.
Yeah.
So I mean, the fact that these kids can identify one of the core concepts of whatever they'll call it, social emotional learning, critical race theory, they're problematic tenets to be teaching kids.
Do they know that it's critical race theory?
No, of course
It
not.
doesn't matter what it's called, because when you start labeling it, the first thing that happens is people that are pro whatever it is, they start telling you no, they don't teach that. They start lying to you.
They'll change the definitions.
Yeah, they'll just lie to you.
So they're
what you have
being
to do-
indoctrinated.
Yeah, they're totally being indoctrinated. 100% indoctrination. It is a cult, basically. Like communism is a cult. The whole kit and caboodle.
Well, like here's an example actually, because I just tweeted something out. I saw a tweet from the Krasensteins. For those who aren't familiar, they're like prominent liberals. And Brian said, "Dear Republicans, if you think drag queens reading books about love and inclusion to your kids is bad, you might want to check out some of the verses from the Bible that your local priest is reading to them." So I responded with, "Okay, now try a non-theist. Adult sex performers should not be around kids." And he said, "100%. I'm not aware of any sexual performances at book readings, are you?" And there actually are.
They're just lying.
First and foremost, drag is an adult sex performance.
Yes.
And they're lying to you. They are lying to you. And I'll say it again. They are lying to you. When you had these child drag queens ripping their clothes off on stage for adult gay men handing them money, they said, "It's just a costume change. It's just a costume." And I'm like, right, when the go-go dancer in states that have banned full nude stripping are dancing on the pole and then rip off their top and they're wearing a bra, it's just a costume change. No, it's a sexualized adult performance. It's meant to titillate. So when you put a go-go dancer or a stripper in a book club, we would call that an adult sex performer reading to children. And we shouldn't do that.
And everybody replying to that's saying it's not sexualized. You're all lying garbage people.
Well, no,
you're just the worst evil pieces of garbage there is.
Why is it always that we know it's sexualized when it's straight, but we don't know it's sexualized or it becomes mumbled when
Just because they lie.
Well, did you
when
see
you
what
put
Blair
an
White
alphabet
tweeted?
soup like LGBT, it doesn't make any sense. Why is it all of a sudden not sexualized because we're pushing a specific ideological agenda?
Because all communists lie.
I think a lot of it is.
Blair White tweeted, "Taking kids to a drag show to teach them to respect gay people is the equivalent of taking them to a strip club to respect women."
Yeah.
To be
Exactly.
fair, though, isn't Blair White being an influencer? It's not. as bad, obviously, as Drag Queen Story Hour, but aren't you normalizing the idea of trans people almost as much if you have a trans influencer?
Blair White has every right to be on the internet
I'm not
and
saying
make
she
YouTube
doesn't.
videos.
I'm not saying she doesn't, but she
we have
normalizes
no-
the idea
So
to
what?
many. Oh, well, some people would say normalizing the idea of being a successful transgender person and being conformed in that new identity is wrong to teach children that because it could lead them to think that. And we don't think that men could become women and women
But that's a
could become
totally
men.
different circumstance. Blair White being on the internet, talking about, being Blair White, being an influencer, having ideas, is not the same as showing up in a G-string to a children's reading hour or whatever, or to a bar, telling the kids it's not going to lick itself, and then spreading your legs and thrusting your hips in front of someone's
I
face.
think Blair's very reasonable. She'll tell you, like, I'm a man and I'm a trans woman. And she can be both at the same time. In fact, you have to be. You never stop being a man when you transition to a trans woman. You never stop. You can be both at the same time. That's very important.
I guess the idea becomes, do you think she helps normalize the idea that people can transition successfully?
I actually just did an interview with a mom who was, she's a lifelong Democrat, like blue dog Democrat, still lives in California, and her daughter underwent a phase when she thought she was transgender. Grew up like typical young girl, like had like 8 dresses around her, always wearing dresses, very cute, very frilly, and then went on to identify as a man for about a year and a half, and that was a concern that mom raised. So I don't think it's
Wait, what specifically? That
she said, I think my daughter watched a lot of Blair White, and that this is what she called it. Now, do I think that I'm not opining? I'm just saying that was a valid concern of a mother who, whose daughter underwent all of this.
There is an argument if there is an argument to be made surrounding this particular issue about Blair White or trans people, that's an issue for parents to deal with.
Agreed.
That's something for parents to deal with their children, and parents to act like children and to raise their children. Blair White has every right to get on YouTube and
Absolutely.
make videos if she wants.
Absolutely.
And to even discuss it in a way as if it's somehow, the onus is on Blair to not do that is, in my opinion, absolutely outside of the bounds of
And now,
reasonable conversation.
what is not reasonable for YouTube is when they had these videos a while ago, they got in trouble for this. It was adults showing children adult toys and things like that. And there was a backlash. They were like, we're doing sex ed for kids. Like, that is not something YouTube should be recommending to kids.
Oh.
And now they're doing the same thing. LGBTQ content is sex ed content.
Yes.
And it is something the parents have to discuss. And we've talked about this. As much as they'll all try to lie about the opinions of people on this show, my attitude's always been like, if a parent decides the appropriate age for their child to start learning about these things, about different marriages, about gay, straight, sexual reproduction and things like that, the parents need to figure that stuff out. There's a difference between a parent being like, son, I want to teach you about the birds and the bees, and these schools giving kids pornography and like mentally traumatizing content and bringing in adult sex performers. That's all way over the line.
Did you see that little kid in, I believe it was Maine, who was, he went in front of his school board and read a pornographic book and was like, I found this in my library. It's allegedly for kids over the age of 13. I'm 11, but I'm in the same school as 13-year-olds, so I have access to it. His name's like Zayad or something. Interesting clip. Anyway,
Where was it? Can we find it?
yeah, for sure. Let me see if I can find. I forget what his name was, but it was a Maine kid reads pornography to school board, maybe.
I was thinking,
Yeah.
here it is. Knox Zajac,
Thank you.
3 days ago from New York Post.
Mm-hmm.
This is right here.
Yeah, this kid
11-year-old sixth grader
It is
reads
graphic and does-
sexually explicit book,
video
Nick
this-
and Charlie, in front of the school board in Maine. The book was on display at his middle school library. These are the books being offered to kids in public schools. And this is the problem. I have no issue with a person who, I'm not a conservative. Sorry, I'm just not. If like a lot of conservatives take issue with Dave Rubin. He's a gay married man. He had 2 kids through surrogacy. Libby Emmons was on the show frequently, is very critical of surrogacy. And my attitude is kind of like, I'm fairly neutral on surrogacy. I don't know enough about it. Don't really have a strong opinion. I think Dave will be one of the better parents that this country will ever see. I think him and his husband are going to raise 2 of the most well-functioning human beings this country will probably get, because Dave is an extremely high-functioning and intelligent individual who will do a good job. And I'm not going to make that traditional argument. It's not me, but they will lie. The left will lie and try and lump all of us in the same category and say that we're transphobic, we're homophobic, and it's like, dude, we've had multiple trans people on the show. The only weapon they have to defend pedophilia is to lie and accuse us of hating all LGBT people because we specifically call out grooming children.
Everything from the left is everything that's a moralized argument is almost always them lying about someone else. It's like you very rarely hear the people that are accusing, or you very rarely hear people that have been accused of being anti-trans or being homophobic or whatever. You don't hear them on these horrible triads like the Richard Spencer raging against the Jews. Like, you don't hear that. And so they have to make stuff up because people generally aren't really repulsed by trans people. Most people are just like, look, do your thing, live your life the way you want to live it. I'll live mine. It'll be fine.
It's the behavior. Yeah, like when that individual went to the GameStop and was screaming and smacking things, like that aggressive behavior could come from anybody.
Yeah.
If it was a woman, they'd call her a Karen.
Mm-hmm.
But should we play this video? Is it really graphic?
There's one F-bomb, I will warn you.
No, I don't mind that. Just letting everybody know.
Yeah.
Showing pictures
warning.
or anything? Is there
No
nudity?
pictures, no.
All right, just a warning if you have kids in the room or something.
I was in the library, and this book was on a stand. I'd like to read you a page. My back over my hips as I asked if we should take our clothes off. And he's saying yes before I finish my sentence. He's pulling off my t-shirt, laughing when I can't undo his shirt buttons. He's undoing my belt. I'm reaching into his bedside drawer for a condom. We're kissing. Again, we're rolling over. Obviously, you can see where this is going. I don't know if it's because we're feeling especially emotional or just tired, or these past couple of weeks have been too much. But this reminds me so much of the first time we had sex. We were both fucking terrified, and the whole thing was kind of terrible because we didn't know what we were doing. But it was good too, so good, because we were a mess of emotions, and we were scared and excited, and everything felt new. So this sort of feels like that. Nick touches me like he's scared of that any minute.
What book was that? Nick and Charlie. It's about gay people or something.
Two teen boys stealing wine from their parents and proceeding to experiment sexually with one another. Guys, he can't even say library properly. Like, why should he be learning about? He says library. Like, why?
I want to thank you, Knox, for speaking up and out. You got courage, man.
Yeah.
Nice job. That's a brutal to have to go through that, dude.
And I think the dad said that this is actually not just at the younger kid's school. He has an older son who was at a high school in the area and said the book Genderqueer is allowed.
Oh, I have it.
Yeah.
It's here.
Yeah. So,
Sorry to interrupt. You were saying?
No, exactly. But that's available in their high school. So it's clearly just...
That's nuts because it's
Have
like
you
a
read
guy putting a
Have you read
prosthetic
Genderqueer?
penis in his
Oh,
mouth.
I
It's
mean, I've
actually-
seen the penises, but...
You got to read it.
Crazy. That what he read, man. That was not in school when I was in school. We had like Newberry, Amelia Bedelia, and all this stuff. Like, yeah.
I wasn't in school that long ago. Like, I feel like, how has it changed that much?
It would have been a huge deal if someone found that book in my school.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone would have known about it. It would have been all our parents. I would have told my parents. Everybody would have known about it. It would have been just people would have lost their jobs for this kind of thing in 1987.
The genderqueer book, I think most people watching the show already know what I've had to say about it, but conservatives haven't even read it. And every time I talk to some conservatives like, oh, I know that book. I'm like, did you read it? The answer is no. And then my attitude is like, this is why I am not in favor of blanket book bans, because people should be able to have access to something to understand what it is. That's totally different than if children are getting access to something. I think certain, like certain books and stuff should be restricted for children. Obviously, we ban porn. But this book is the story of the extreme psychological abuse of a young woman and how it created someone who is traumatized and needs like deep therapy. It is not. So for a few examples, for those who didn't hear this, she couldn't read till she was 12. She was pissing outside when she was a child. She was never taught how to take care of her body. So she would wear old crusted pads in school, and she smelled like feces to the point where she got called into the counselor and they complained and said, people are complaining of your smell and you need to do something about this. So this poor young woman hairy legs, hairy armpits, totally unsocialized by weird hippie parents who have her peeing in the yard. And then she feels some kind of social rejection because she doesn't know how to fit in with her peers. And she writes about it, how she's like, I can't read, I smell bad, and people are being mean to me. So she's not non-binary. She's just traumatized because because her parents abused her.
And this book that Knox is reading, I still don't have Nick and Charlie, about two young underage kids drinking alcohol. Like, is that a form of neglect, abuse by the parents? The kids, not that you can't, like a kid's going to do what a kid does, but I believe if you parent the kid properly, like I didn't drink until I was 23 because my parents told me don't do it. It's horrible for you. I tasted it once. It tasted disgusting. I was like, all right, I'm not going to do it.
I think you might be in the minority on that.
That's unfortunate. It's kind of weird. I gotta say, it's kind of weird that this Nick and Charlie book's written by a woman. I just think that's weird. Maybe that's just me. Like, if it was written by a gay man writing about his experience growing up and discovering he was gay and stuff, I'd be like, I get it. But it's written by a woman who is like, it almost seems like some kind of weird, I don't know. She's sitting there imagining what it must be like to be a teenage boy hooking up with another teenage boy. It just doesn't. It seems weird.
You think that their mentality, because this should not be in a school. A book about two young underage kids having sex with each other should not be in a government school, in my opinion. But you think the argument's like, hey, there's so many books anyway, we can't keep count, and it's all on the internet anyway. If they want to read it, it's there.
I've heard that argument a lot of times. Like, if kids want to get access to this stuff, they're going to get access to it. So we might as well have it be like the Pulitzer Prize winning version of it.
Access to information because of the internet is a big issue. I think when an age where kids could get on the internet could be a big issue because if they could access the internet, they could get crazier stuff than anything that's written in this book. And
absolutely.
I don't know. What about TikTok? We see a lot of
the woman who wrote this. She's like 28 or 29 years old.
Yeah. So we see videos from libs of TikTok of crazier stuff. People are going to drag queen story hours. And there have been some crazy videos that they uploaded recently of some things in England where they're like stripping in front of children.
Babies.
So that
like doing sex performance moves in front of babies. Yeah. I'm not even exaggerating. It's like a dozen babies all crawling on the ground and they're like,
remember when we used to do that for like the Teletubbies when you were like, oh my gosh, the Teletubbies, and now it's like, oh my gosh, a stripper for babies.
You think the Teletubbies were grooming kids? Because that was after my kid time. I was out of the house. I just thought they were so weird and brainwashy, like and like making this weird beeping sounds and like gyrating back and forth. I'm like, what is this? God,
it was weird.
I don't know. I was mesmerized by
the scariest thing was it was the flaming baby head. The burning baby head that would be in the sky going, and you're like, ah. No, Teletubbies was fine. I don't know. I just don't understand why I do all this weird stuff for kids where it's like, think about the pre-television era. What were children seeing all day, every day in their entertainment? A human being telling a story, reading a book with very few pictures. And then when TV comes around, all of a sudden you got like Snuffleupagus and like Big Bird and weird, creepy monster things going like, oh, and then the kids are like, I identify with that.
There was a time where you had...
That's how we got furries.
Yes.
Sesame Street, wow.
Parents put kids in front of TVs and turn on Looney Tunes. And then these kids start identifying with the social interactions of cartoon animals. And that's why when you look at pictures of furries, they don't dress up like actual animals. They dress up like Bugs Bunny kind of animals with big eyes and they look like cartoon characters.
That's part of the anime culture too, though.
Furry?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We were just at Katsucon. My team and I didn't go, but my team went and we were all discussing everything. It's fascinating to see the anime culture and the inroads it has into grooming, actually.
What is Katsucon? I'm sorry.
It's I don't know, not to be offensive. It's just like a convention of like anime lover, nerdy people. It felt very harmless when I was there until I learned how the inroads of it. I mean, that can take you from something very harmless, like dressing up like a furry or dressing up like an anime
But furry is not cosplay.
Yes and no. Some of them have those conventions just like that.
I mean, they're not the same thing. Furry is very different from cosplay, but there's probably some overlap for sure.
Yeah,
so some furries cosplay, some don't.
Yeah, there was a cosplaying furry at my high school.
Yeah, I mean, there's for some reason furry Nazis. Like they wear fur suits and they get like they dress up like whatever, man. I don't know.
I was fortunate to grow up in the era of reading Rainbow with LeVar Burton. What's up, LeVar? One of the best. I mean, just easy shows where he just reads a book, or actually a kid would read the book, and then Mr. Rogers, where it's a guy, a genuine dude, like sitting there looking at the camera, giving you encouragement and then educating you by reading you books and telling you about it's how to tie your shoes and like things, like things that kids may not know. I thought that, like, I was thinking this and I couldn't type it out. It's not a typable thing, but like until you're able as a human to create order in reality around you, I don't think you should have the ability to cut yourself up or sterilize yourself. And like, I just assumed every kid eventually will get to a place where they can create order in reality. I don't think that's the case, though. I think you need a good, strong parental unit to help you learn how to do that.
I think we're seeing how broken culture and society is because of the us being cut from our roots. What is it? Cut flower politics or whatever that Dennis Prager calls it. You pluck the flower from its roots and it looks beautiful, but then eventually withers and decays. And so we've been severed from the roots that have made this country an amazing place. And so now we're starting to wither and decay.
I would like to do a Timcast show. If you want to do a show where I read books to kids and talk to them and encourage them. I think we need more of that in
Ian's
society.
Kids Show?
It doesn't have to be to kids either.
Ian Crossland Story
I did the Phantom Toll Booth. I have like a 19 video series on YouTube on my playlists where I read the Phantom Toll Booth. It's one of my most popular. It's my most popular playlist by far.
No, we should do a Go-Go Dancer Story Hour.
Yeah, we need
What's
more
the difference?
wholesome, like just genuine encouragement for children.
The left would love it. You'd make tons of money. They're totally into that stuff, right? That's a moneymaker right there. Go-Go Dancer Story Hour. There's no difference. There's literally none. Go-Go dancers do not get naked. They dance on stage. They strut around for tips, and they remove parts of clothing, but they still keep their undergarments on.
Is it just have we evolved past showing kids puppets and telling them you're okay and being cool? Is that just no, give it up, like forget about it, move on?
I think your point actually just goes to my point that I made earlier, which is like the go-go dancers would somehow be dubbed inappropriate because you're sexualizing women because it's a straight thing. But,
Right.
you make it LGBT.
Male go-go dancers.
And I don't even know. You're not explaining
Only if
how.
the males kiss each other, though.
Yeah.
Magic Mike Kids.
Then it's not,
There you go.
But yeah, then it's not really then it's considered appropriate.
Like
right?
I don't even
Because
want to.
it's
Wait.
I don't even want to read other people's
two
kids.
lady go-go
Feels
dancers,
weird.
Yes.
but they kissed before.
Then it would be appropriate
Sounds
according
like
to
cheaters.
our
Like
modern society.
The reaction I just got from talking and reading to kids is like, it's like this, don't mess with other people's kids. Like, I don't even want to get involved now. I don't even want to touch it. Like, let those
what?
kids do it on their own. I don't want to help
said
society.
that?
Who said that?
Oh,
Jack's
the whole
talking
vibe is like, it's just so dirty about like,
Ian's feelings got hurt because nobody supported his.
I don't know, man. Why are people not more interested in helping children? They would talk about the problems all day. But where's the solutions?
I don't think anybody had a negative view of you doing a story hour like we're like Ian's Kids Show. You don't got to,
I like
if
Ian
you want to be
Crossland's
affirmed,
Story Hour. Go to a public library. I'm sure if you advertised it, people would love to show up. You have a lot of insightful things. Just don't talk about drugs in front of the kids.
Ian's going to be like sitting in a chair and be like, all right, this book called Pinocchio, and it kind of reminds me of the time I did DMT. Do kids ever do DMT? No, what's DMT? Oh, let me tell you all about it. You will.
One day when you're an adult, you're going to do a bunch of psychedelics.
That's a good Cass Castle bit, actually. We
That'd
should
be
do
fun.
that.
Oh, okay, let's do it for Cass Castle. We'll start there.
Ian's Story Hour.
Ian's Story
asking
Hour.
kids
Ian, it
about
would be
doing
funny
DMT.
if you tried to look like a drag because, you already have long hair, and then you did a drag story.
Dude,
hour.
I did. I was in Hamlet in college, and I played Laertes, and I was getting ready for the show and putting makeup on. I was like, I would make a hot chick. Looking at my jawline, I look good. I had long hair. I was back in a ponytail.
You should, if you converted to trans, maybe you'd be able to do it
Converted?
convincingly.
I have.
Or what is it? Transitions.
I have played women on stage before. One woman in one show. It was awesome. I think there's a picture of it out there.
Anyway, man, I feel like I think part of the issue is there is some truth to the social component, socialization, that the left is making the argument for, that conservatives actually argued for in the past. And I think what we're seeing is information technology has shattered the brains of humanity. Like I was saying before, if you go back to the 1800s, what's a kid's morning entertainment? Get up and help with the chickens. Get up and help with the cows. So they're not seeing weird rabbits on TV going, yeah, I'm a rabbit. And then the kid being like, haha, rabbit, that's me. I'm a rabbit too. But then we start doing all this weird stuff. And here's the thing about this, like early entertainment was like radio stuff. And so what was it? It was stories. So these kids are being told, be a soldier, be a cop, be a doctor, be a firefighter, be a superhero, be Superman. And then eventually it turns into like wacky, broken brain families, Peter Griffin. I mean, obviously not for kids, but this is what society starts making. Somebody super chatted Uncle Grandpa. You guys ever watch that show?
It's weird.
Uncle Grandpa. Do you know what that means? If your uncle is your grandfather?
That means your dad's brother is also your dad's father, meaning that your grandpa had sex with his sister
Or his daughter.
or his daughter.
That would be his
Home
daughter,
Alabama.
right? So wait, if your grandfather, wait, if
like
your
I don't wanna know the
grandfather is also your uncle, that would mean your wait, hold on. But is Elad trying to figure this one out?
It's complicated. Is it possible?
Yes, it is. I think it's something like if your grandfather is your uncle, then your mom, it's got to be your mom, I think.
That would mean that your dad is your brother if your grandfather is your uncle.
Where'd you hear that saying?
Wait,
Tim?
no, that's
Uncle Grandpa was a show on Cartoon
your
Network.
dad's your
that's
brother,
what it is.
right? Your dad's your brother. That's what that would mean.
What?
If your dad's your brother, then your grandpa's your uncle.
Or is your mom your sister?
Yeah, it would be different for different sexes.
That's right. You're right. Yeah, if a dude bangs his daughter, no.
I don't think we're supposed to know. This is too dirty.
I was gonna say I don't think you want to know the answer.
But if your mom's your sister, then your grandpa's your uncle.
I did just see a video the other day of some woman jumping into a man's arms, and you're like, oh, it's gonna be some
The person's
cheesy-
mother's brother and father. Okay, so that means a guy would bang his mom and have a daughter, and then he would bang his daughter and would be your Uncle Grandpa.
And this is on Cartoon Network.
It was a show on Cartoon Network. I don't know if it's still there anymore, but
No, it stopped in 2017.
yeah.
It's from 2013
so is
to
that
2017.
you'd be a person's mother, brother, and a person's mother's brother and father.
Uncle
So that
Grandpa.
would brother and father would be like, a guy. So it has to be the brother. So a mother has a child with her son, then the son has a child with his child, a female, and has you, and now he's your grandfather and your uncle.
Gross.
Yeah,
And your dad?
Gross.
one or the other probably.
What? He would be your dad too, wouldn't he? Brother and father? Or no, I guess he doesn't need to be your father.
Was it like
Science, everybody. Science. We figured it out.
Was the show sexual or was it just like a funny name?
It was just
It was-
weird.
It was a weird, absurdist kids show. But that's the interesting thing about kids shows is the kids shows I grew up on, Spider-Man, X-Men, Batman the animated series. Think about what this show is. Sure, it's freaky, but the first animated show to ever win an Emmy, I think it was the Mr. Freeze episode. Is that it, Mr. Freeze?
Really?
Yeah, so I love this story, man. Supervillains used to be one-dimensional. Yeah, I'm going to take over the world. And then Batman's like, I will stop you. But with Freeze, he was a scientist whose wife had a terminal illness, and she was dying, and he was working on cryogenics. So is it cryogenics?
Cryogenics. Where you
Cryogenics.
like freeze body parts to live longer.
So he freezes her to preserve her life while he tries working on a cure, but he's embezzling corporate funds to fund his research to save his wife. When they find out and they come in and they're like, you've been stealing money from the company for this project and shut it down. He's like, no, my wife, she'll die. You can't turn it off. And then the bodyguard they get into a fight. Freeze gets thrown into the machine or whatever and gets doused in the cryochemicals, lowering his body temperature and then forcing him to have to live in a lower temperature. And so basically Freeze as a villain is sad story. His motivation is he needs money and resources to save his dying wife. He's not trying to take over the world. And so Batman is like, it's kind of sad. Before that, villains were always, not always, like you had the Frank Miller stuff and you had a bunch of other interesting comics in the 80s, which led to this moment. And then I think it was the first cartoon. So I grew up on that. I'm like watching this, I'm like, wow, villains aren't one-dimensional, And then with Spider-Man, it's similar stories, but still a little one-dimensional hokey villain stuff. Kids these days aren't getting any of that. It's all weird, garbled nonsense. I mean, don't get me wrong, Looney Tunes made very little sense too. And I think that stuff messes with kids' minds. I'm not kidding. I think kids should not watch that stuff.
What about South Park?
South Park's not for kids.
I
It's
agree with
political.
you.
It's cultural satire and comedy. It's for adults.
But I think kids have watched it.
I watched it when I was a kid.
and it's warping. That's very mind warping.
But but here's the thing. My parents had a parental control on the cable, and so I didn't watch South Park all the time. My parents wouldn't let me watch Beavis and Butthead. Like we could watch it sometimes. This is what parenting is. My parents would be like, okay, I'm going to let you watch one episode of Beavis and Butthead because my mom would know this particular episode wasn't that bad. And then we would watch and we would find it funny and stuff. And there's a disclaimer like, do not do this stuff at home because some kid burned his house down from watching Beavis and Butthead or something.
When I was very young, my parents wouldn't let me watch MTV. It was, the new thing. And I was, they were like, no, I don't want you watching. I've seen this, blah, blah, blah. My mom used to believe that, she believed in the subliminal messages in Judas Priest stuff. She's like, I don't want you to listen to Judas Priest. I heard that man say, do it, blah, blah, blah. So,
we were banned from watching Three Stooges because it was too violent, and
really?
Tom and Jerry because it was too violent.
I was banned from Powder Puff Girls for the exact same reason.
I feel like what you were talking about, Tim, is the Teletubbies and stuff like that, and the cartoons are really kind of more geared towards younger people. And when you were talking about like the bad guys that Batman was fighting, the more complex characters like Mr. Freeze and stuff. If you look at your average environmentalist, they have a similar outlook to Thanos. There's too many people. So we have to get rid of people. We have to have population go down. We have to control the population. And if there's not enough resources on Earth, and we blah blah blah. Your average socialist environmentalist is just Thanos without the glove.
Is this Thanos from the movie? He actually wanted to kill half the people for population
He
control.
wanted to kill half of the people in the universe.
This
Half
is the
of all
real
life in the
Thanos.
universe.
This is the Infinity Gauntlet where the entire movie was derived from. This is the book. And in this, he doesn't care about all he cares about is pleasing a woman. That's
Death.
what the
Death. It wasn't even a
Lady
woman.
Death. Yeah, Lady Death. He wants to please her, so he kills half the universe.
But this is
it doesn't.
Hold on.
She doesn't even care.
Ian, we got to make sure you clarify. Not a woman. The entity Death.
Yeah, but he's in love with her. The idea is
Right.
her name is Lady Death.
But it's the entity of Death.
Yeah.
It's like to say it's a woman, people might get the wrong idea.
Okay, it's Lady Death. We'll call her Lady Death.
And she has the powers of death. It's the death god.
And after he kills half the universe, she doesn't care. And so he's like, well, now he's like in an existential crisis of like lost. And the whole episode is the whole series. You got to read this series. Is him like being lost, being nihilistic, and having infinite power. It's excellent series.
There was some good stuff they wrote in comics when they started getting past the one-dimensional era and the weird era. Like Superman could fire little Supermans from his hand. Do you guys know that?
Yes.
Superman had the ability to shoot smaller Supermans from his hand.
They were just wild, and man, they were just they were doing acid and writing whatever they felt like. They're just like, whatever, man.
Like, think about Superman freeze breath and laser eyes. Like, it doesn't even make sense in any way.
I was thinking, he used to not be able to fly? He could only jump.
Yeah, he
really
could
high?
only jump. And I think he didn't, like, in the early days, his powers were kind of random and all over the place. Like the firing small Supermans from his hand. That's a real thing.
We're going to go to Super Chats still in about 10 minutes, but I just kind of think about Andrew Tate. I keep thinking about
Let's pull it up, baby. Here's the story, man. Andrew Tate has lung cancer. What leaked medical documents reveal. Now, they're saying, does he? And the report people are saying is that he does. They say he has lung cancer. He may have lung cancer, according to a letter written by his doctor in Dubai. The letter from Tate's general practitioner at King's College Hospital in United Arab Emirates suggests he be repatriated to the Gulf nation immediately. The letter and medical reports in English appear to be translated into Romanian. Tate is currently in custody in Bucharest on allegations of rape and trafficking. Hold on there a minute. He's never been charged with any crime, which is the creepiest and weirdest thing about they're like, when we suspect you of a crime, we lock you up for 6 months.
Who
That's crazy.
is the information coming from that he
His
has?
doctor.
His doctor.
Yeah.
But it's leaked, you said,
It's
right?
a leak. Yeah.
And it says he may have lung cancer.
There was a scan that found a spot on his lung and they did get him in because they think he has lung cancer.
I just want to be careful here because I know there's a lot of misinformation from both sides of fans and detractors of Tate. He is currently 36. I know he smokes cigars, but people getting lung cancer in people younger than 45 is extremely rare. He's in very good shape. Although he does smoke, it would be very rare for him.
Sure, and you know what? Maybe it's fake news, but he's not been charged with any crime, so he should not be in custody until they charge him with a crime.
Yeah, do the right thing, guys. Release him because this is going to be a stain on Romania for a century if you don't let that guy go.
Already... I was talking before about how I loved Brajov and Bucharest, and they were great places. Now I'm not sure I ever want to go back to a place like this.
It's disgusting.
Look, man, you can criticize Andrew Tate for a whole lot of things, and don't look at me. I don't know, but to detain a guy for 6 months without charge or trial.
No, you
is
gotta let
just
him.
like,
If he's
screw that
actually the
place.
villain, you think it's going to show itself. You don't need to.
But he's
What
got.
are they doing?
When these women came out and said like, "Hey, we're not victims. They're lying." The judge goes, "Nah, you're brainwashed." I'm like, what, dude? If a witness statement isn't good enough, and you're claiming the witness testifying on his behalf is brainwashed, there's no justice system.
I'm not particularly sympathetic to Tate's stories. I think that he might have broken Romanian law. I think it's actually likely that he broke Romanian law in the whole the sweet boy or whatever lover boy thing.
Charge him with a crime.
Yeah. Exactly, 100%. That's exactly where I was going. Even if he did do something, or if they suspect him, charge him so that way it's above board, and allow the Romanian justice system to take its course, but charge him. Just holding him,
Or let him go.
Yeah, or let him go. That's fine too.
I think a part of this story is that Andrew Tate is becoming less and less relevant as he's being held longer and longer in jail because he's unable to produce content, and as that progresses, his relevancy decreases. I think this might just be a stunt to try to keep his name in the media and the news, and to elevate this story more to try to help him get out.
It concerned me that this is a desperate attempt to get him out of prison. And
It's a tension because it's diminishing because he can't make content unless people are covering it.
I don't care if there is a 0.001% chance this is true. He should not be held without charge. And so it doesn't matter if they need to or don't. This is all the more reason. Like, think about how insane this is. If you're suggesting the story's fake, that would mean that Tate's team is like, okay, he's being charged with that. He's been held in custody without charges. What scheme can we come up with to get him released? It's like, holy crap, he shouldn't be in any custody at all without charges.
I shouldn't need to do this.
Definitely, he should not be in custody and being held without charges.
So why would they? So the idea, I'll put it this way: if they are faking this story to try and get him out of jail, good for them. Good.
Okay, if the ends justify the means, yeah.
it's very
not about the ends
American
justifying-
revolutionary of you,
The
my
end,
man.
but what the ends justify the means in that the bad guy in this story is Romania, not the people trying to free the guy who's being unjustly held.
I agree that he is being unjustly held, but just specifically on the story here of him having lung cancer,
Right.
he's
So
30. That's what I'm talking
if
about.
a woman is
specifically.
kidnapped, is it like, I don't know if we should use violence against this guy because the ends don't justify the means? Like, no. The bad guy is the person who kidnapped the person, not the person trying to figure out a way. If there's a guy who's holding someone captive in his basement, and we're like, the only way to free this person is to sneak in the middle of the night, break the window, unlock the, whoa, that's breaking and entering, dude. The ends don't justify the means. Like, this is different.
If they have dirt on him, they need to bring the charges, and he needs to be brought in forth of the judge, and they need to show that evidence. I think in Romania, I'm not completely familiar with their legal system, but they have X amount of time to hold him while they
extended
look
it.
for the evidence.
That's insane.
Which is weird, and I just think they do it differently in Romania too, which doesn't make it right.
Yeah, apparently detention was extended 30 days. 3 days ago, they said last week. They just extended it. So, like, he doesn't even know when they're going to release him. They're just like...
This lesion on his lung, by the way, is from March of 2022. He got a health screening back then, and he was reassured at the time that the mass was likely benign, but is advised to get further tests.
This could be like the Joe Biden, benign skin cancer.
Yeah, for sure.
He should have more tests.
I just think, look, man, if Andrew Tate is innocent of these accusations, they shouldn't be holding him. Mm-hmm. And if he is guilty and these charges, these accusations are correct, they are losing the prosecution against him by doing this. They are making themselves look evil and making him look like the victim every day they're holding him. So the only outcome in this for Romania is net negative. The only logical solution is to release the guy.
They shouldn't have locked him up. If they didn't have the goods to begin with, they shouldn't have locked him up. And it shouldn't be like, oh, we're locking him up to find the goods now.
I don't know. Is that the way the legal system works in Romania?
When you're accused of a crime, they will detain you and bring it and lock you up, and then start looking for evidence. That's insane.
I'm
Like,
still,
I
They
don't
said
live in- I don't-
Ceausescu was bad.
I don't live in Romania. I don't agree with their way of doing things. I think it is, we in America, we have the right to a speedy trial. We have a right to a jury of our peers. We have a right to confront our accusers. And in Romania, they're doing none of that. They're just like, nah, lock them up. Extended period of time. Yeah, that's wrong. And they're losing on it because on the world stage, as much as the corporate press and their weirdo cultists are going to be like, Andrew Tate's bad, Sure, but they're not going to get someone like me. And I'm ready to be like, well, he's got a bunch of really awful videos. Maybe these stories are true. I don't care if the stories are true at this point. If you have not charged him and you don't have the goods to charge him, detaining him makes you look like the villain.
Mm-hmm. Innocent until proven guilty.
Absolutely.
Could he be extradited by the U.S. government?
I think they're doing this in Romania. They're not like trying to bring him here on things illegal there. They're trying to charge him in Romania.
Could the U.S. government be like, we demand you release him back to the United States? He's a U.S. citizen.
Is he a U.S. citizen?
I think he is. Assuming that he is. Could the government do something
American
like
and
that? Like you're
British,
holding an
isn't he?
American guy in against like in a detention that's unconstitutional in the United States. Let him go.
The U.S. doesn't. The U.S. won't do that. They'll allow the country to go through their justice system. A friend of mine, Randy, was held in where is it? The Czech Republic on trumped up murder charges. Because some kid jumped up on stage and he pushed him off.
Wait, who did?
Randy Blythe from Lamb of God. He wrote a book about it. This was 6-7 years ago. He was held in the Czech Republic. It might even be longer than 6-7 years ago. But he had to deal with all their
Guys.
their issues.
Holy shit.
What's that?
The Daily Wire sold 100,000 chocolate bars as of 8:47 p.m.
Just during the episode?
Fucking
Or
God.
all time?
In 12 hours.
12 hours.
They sold 100,000 bars of chocolate.
Wow.
Damn.
Are they selling them by individual bars?
We
Or
need
they
to get
sell
on this
boxes?
game.
Yeah, dude.
Tap
Tap in, man. Jeremy got all the connections.
They must have made a couple $1 million already.
Do a hair care product, man.
100,000 bars.
Ian's
I don't
hair
think we
care.
made
Yeah, let's roll. I mean, I'll do it with you if you want to.
100,000 bars? Yeah, but how much are they selling them for? Let me check. Wait, what? Uh-oh. I'm getting some weird security restriction.
I think
Nice
we
job,
need to get in the
guys.
beanie game before we get in the hair product game.
We're working on it.
tell
A
you what.
4-pack is $25. All right,
that's-
so we're talking about like what?
it. $25.
It's like $6 a bar.
Yeah, more.
little bit
That's
more.
before taxes, I imagine.
$6 per bar.
All right, I don't care what anyone says. Jeremy won the culture war. The culture war is over. Jeremy Boring won the culture war.
How much
At
is
the Daily
the-
Wire? Because between Noel's book with no words in it and Jeremy's razors
But
and the chocolate bars.
If you buy a 24-pack, it's $100.
Right.
So
that's what.
a bit cheaper, a little bit more than $4.
How much
yes.
is that Mr. Beast bar?
Oh yeah. That's called Feastables, right?
Feastables.
Feastables is pretty popular.
It's
He,
also
he wrote, Daily Wire is breaking the cycle of lose, bitch, and boycott and is instead creating actual alternatives.
Feastables, Jimmy. Where's your favicon? I still get the global icon. You need a cool favicon, man.
Favicon.
Yeah.
Man, we got our coffee coming soon, but we're sitting here trying to get this thing launched since December. And then the company that we work with is like, it'll be done in 7 days. And then they come back to us after we sign and they're like 6 weeks. And we were like, what? Whatever. It still is one of the best companies we found in terms of the product, the freshness, the delivery, all the things they can do. And so we're like, how did Jeremy do this in 12 hours? or not even in 12 hours, in like 6 hours. Like we're trying to get, when you got it, you got it.
Yeah, he's
Damn.
on sentry duty right now. If he sees a company like just obliterate their product with wokeness, he's like, call him. Make the call. We're selling
Jeremy,
it.
this better be some good chocolate. You know, it's
Give me the
gonna-
nuts.
Give me the nuts.
I want the almonds.
Yep. All right, let's go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, and become a member at timcast.com to support our work directly. We've been ready to launch the coffee brand for a long time. We've got the company building out, we're working on the contract for building out the coffee shop, and it just takes so long. This is ridiculous. Man, it's frustrating too.
Someone asked
Because as
me
much as I'm like, it's really amazing the Daily Wire pulled this off, it is frustrating to be like, yo, we've been trying to do this coffee thing for a long time.
Someone said asked in the comments if Jeremy is being mean in this situation. Yes, he is. This is absolutely.
How's he being mean?
Well, because he's making fun of Hershey's to make a point, like, yo, this is reality, bro. And I think people will be like, hey,
I
but he's
disagree.
not being cruel.
He's not.
This is
walking
justifiable meanness,
But
in
look,
my
he's not
opinion.
walking. He's not saying Hershey, you disgusting, awful, evil. He's going.
Well,
he's saying to you, if you don't like them, I got a candy bar for you right here.
The
That's not
website's
mean.
called I Hate Hershey's, so like that's mean. You know,
I don't
made
think-
a
I don't
website
think- I
called
don't think so.
I hate you. I hate Tim. I hate.
I disagree.
What?
I don't think it's mean to say you hate somebody. Mean would be when you seek to inflict emotional harm on someone to them.
I think that's cruelty. Anyway, I don't want to talk.
If me and Phil were talking and I said, Phil, I hate John Doe. I'm not being mean to John Doe. John Doe doesn't even know I said it.
But if you made a website, IHateJohnDoe.com, and then sold products.
But they're not saying it to Hershey. You know what I mean? They're not being mean to Hershey's.
They're just saying it loudly right in front of Hershey's.
Hershey's is going to be okay.
I don't know.
I'm not confident that Hershey's has feelings to
Up for
hurt.
debate.
Yeah,
corporations are not people.
Aren't they like even owned by like Mars or something? Some massive
Yeah.
faceless corporation.
I think Hershey will be fine with
know what we should do?
with their website.
We should create an AI for every corporation so Hershey's can have their feelings hurt. I am upset that people are saying mean things about me. All right, here we go. What do we got? Katoth Swiss says, can we keep the cancer and get rid of Biden? Okay, that's a good one.
I want to figure out a way to make that happen.
All right. I'm not your buddy guy. Always with the first super chats here. He says, Tim, check this out. Douglas Murray nuked the mainstream media during his monk debates here in Toronto, Canada this past November. Very cool. Carrington Cox says, no news of the Tyree Nichols affair rumor going around, but I'm going fishing with a buddy from high school, now an MPD investigator. Interesting. Comrade Nikolai says, hey, Tim and crew, anyone else think Biden is definitely on his way out before end of term 1 and Kamala gets shoehorned in?
I don't think he'd make it past the second term. He's 80 now, and then
With cancer.
With cancer, like these topical treatment type cancers, but he's getting old, and I think he'd be 85 or 86 by the end of his second term if he chose to run again.
I do not think there is. Yeah, but it's not the bad cancer. Like, he's got cancer, and it's
benign is the good cancer, and
no. There's no good cancer.
Yeah, there's malignant and benign.
But neither is
tumors.
good.
But the malignant ones are cancerous. The benign ones aren't cancerous. Like a benign
right.
tumor.
So
There's no such thing as a better cancer.
Well, I think so.
It's like you have cancer, it's bad.
Yeah, this is the which bullet would you rather get shot with question. Neither. I don't want to get shot.
But a little bit of skin cancer is way less bad than
there's
brain
the lethal
cancer.
No, to be
cancer
fair.
and then the non-lethal
Like,
cancer,
if,
though.
if a crazy person was staring me in the face with a Barrett M80, like he had a Barrett M82 or a Ruger 1022 and said you could choose, I'd be like, well, I guess I have to choose the Ruger 1022. Like,
yes, but that's.
I think it's like a bullet or a
you'll
BB
explode
gun.
if the 50 BMG were to hit you.
Because if you get, you don't want brain cancer or lung cancer, but if you get a little,
I literally told you earlier that my dad died of skin cancer. You're not going to convince me that a little cancer is okay. You're talking to the wrong dude.
Did he get chemo? Like, was he taking chemotherapy?
Well, there was therapy that I'm not going to get too deep into it, but he did go through. Went through therapy and stuff like that, but he didn't catch it until it was too late. He should have got it. He should have got it taken care of far earlier.
With my mom, conversation she and I have a lot because she's been diagnosed with like melanoma for whatever it was for like 15, 14 years. I'm like, dude, it's your diet. Get the dairy out of the fridge. Stop eating meat every night. Let your body heal. That's don't take weird pharmaceutical chemicals that you don't know what they do.
I recommend people listen to their oncologist.
Agreed.
Let's read some more what we got here. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. with his gold jewel-encrusted beanie says, Tim, another good culture war. Thoroughly enjoyed the new show. Pete seems like a real nice dude. Also, I got to acknowledge Phil has been killing it.
Thank you.
Indeed. Yeah, check out the Culture War podcast on Apple and Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts. And it's at youtube.com/Timcast. Talking with Pete was really, really great. It's the first interview he's done. And it's been like a year and a half since he was removed from the band, replaced. And so I reached out. I was like, would you want to talk about it now? And he was like, yeah, I'm down. Let's have a conversation about how this all went down and what it means. And I think it's an important conversation. Because one of the important takeaways is how many people, this is the big takeaway from the show, in my opinion. We used to be a culture of, I am Spartacus. No, I am Spartacus. No, I am Spartacus. Now we're a culture of, that's Spartacus right there. That's him. He's Spartacus. Don't look at me. I'll do whatever you say. All of these people fearing the government and the culture cult are standing up and going, that's Spartacus. Arrest him. Leave me alone. I'm scared. That's kind of a terrifying thought, to be honest. We every single story I hear about someone standing up and saying I'm Spartacus is followed by, and then everyone around me patted me on the back and said, thank you for being our pariah. And I was just like, geez, man, no one defended you. Nobody stood with you. Nobody linked arms.
Nobody. So I was in positions to be considered canceled multiple times because I have never been all that careful with things that I say. And no one stands up and says, oh, hey, you should, the people coming to your defense, they're not running and they're not coming. And everyone is looking to keep themselves, keep their own head above water. So
I always think about that with moms that speak out, or even that little kid that spoke out at a school board meeting. Like, it's so awesome that he did it, and it's great that someone gives him praise, but it is always one-off little internet people instead of, the actual community around him being there, being a part of it. Instead, they're like, oh, sorry, like that upset the school board. I think I'm just going to stay away.
I've had a ton of people in the metal community that have come to me and say, hey, I just want to, like Tim says, he gets people that talk to him and they're just like, they won't say anything in public or whatever. And it happens frequently, I agree with you, but I can't say this, or why would they say that? And we made mention earlier, Sumerian Records had talked about the poke on their Twitter account the other day or yesterday or whatever. And the first replies were like, why are you doing this? Why are you talking about this? And it's like, look, man, this is where like the underground rock and metal scene and punk and hard rock scene, like that's where like the resistance to the man is supposed to live. And
remember that Kaiser Chiefs? Everybody has clean hands. Show me your hand.
You got to see that video.
Yay.
That is so weird. That video is so crazy.
It's
and they're
the
like,
creepiest thing. They're all cheering.
clean hands.
That scares
That's
me,
church.
dude.
That's people losing. Well, you said earlier, like we go to church to get community. I don't really get into doctrinal Christianity as it stands, but I love the community aspect of it.
Right. Well, I think people get that really wrong. I just personally think people live in the idea that religion is the same thing as relationship when it comes to God, and it's whack. Because there's so many people out there that think that in order to have a good relationship with God, you have to start by following all of his rules, because that comes from the idea of, oh, God tells me I must do X. When in reality, if you read the Bible the way that God intended you to read the Bible, the reality is he says, if you want to follow my rules, you will. Like, I'm not worried about it. He's not stressed about it. He's not looking for you to scold you like a mean father. Guy's a homie. I gotta say that. Guy is a homie. He just wants to love you, and I don't know who needs to hear that, but...
All right, let's read this. We got Steve VVV says, when Offspring released the video for Let the Bad Times Roll, I thought I had an ally. Then they kicked Pete, and the lyrics, quote, and so I'm turning my back on you, changed the song's theme. Yeah. What a major letdown from that band. Major letdown. All right, what do we got here? Let's read some more. Wyatt Kaldenberg says, President Wilson had a major stroke in 1919 and was bedridden and could not speak for the last 2 years of his second term. His wife ran the country for 2 years. She passed a lot of awful laws. Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, that's likely.
Ozzy says, I'm pretty good at impressions. I never thought Tim would be, but his Pelosi and McConnell impressions crack me up. They really drive home how old these people are. But I just want to stress, they're not really impressions. They're mockeries. I'm not really trying to impersonate Nancy Pelosi. I'm trying to insult her.
Caricature.
Right.
Slobbery caricature.
Donald Trump is the worst president we have ever had.
Dentures are out.
Yeah.
And McConnell talks like this. Slow down, Democrats.
There you go. But Seamus will only ever give me Dr. Fauci. I get a message from Seamus on Facebook, and I'm like, oh, Seamus, he's messaging me again. Like, I'm all excited. He's my friend. He's not talking to me, and it's a Google document, and I'm like, oh, he just wants me to be Fauci. That's all he wants. That's all he cares about. And so then I read the lines as Dr. Fauci. He can't even let me, be Nancy Pelosi. But
is Fauci making like a quiet exit at the moment? Because I haven't heard his
Yes.
name in the news.
If I understand correctly, yes, he's trying to get out of there.
Somebody said gross to my Pelosi.
Yeah.
That's the intent. Yes, thank you. Yeah. And I can do a really good Lori Lightfoot, apparently.
Ooh, do it.
Come this way, Orbitses. He stole it from us, the stupid fat one.
That sounds like Stitch.
That's
Stitch?
It's Gollum from
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Who? Lori
We should
No?
No, it sounds like Stitch.
or Jacinda Ardern, but I don't know if I could do Gollum with a New Zealand accent. I should work on that one.
She got the mouth like that. She doesn't sound like that, but her mouth looks like
The
that.
only thing I can say with a New Zealand accent is teekst.
That's pretty good.
Because that's the only thing I remember. So I remember talking to someone in New Zealand. They're like, just send me a teekst. And I was like, what?
If you listen to the prime minister that stepped down, she has got the thickest New Zealand accent, and I can't listen to her without laughing.
That's the girl.
Basically, if
Jacinda.
there's any politician who is in a state of decay, I'll just do Gollum's voice and say it's them. Yeah, I'll take it. All right, Normies Get Out says, just got my Murica beanie. All the other beanies are inferior. Blue beanies are feds. Do you know what amount of time you get the America one? That's like the longest, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe that's the longest one. I want to say 36 months.
Wow.
So that's that's an OG guy right there.
Flag beanie. Yep. And we got to make more emojis. What do we have? We have we added the latest ones was the golden cock.
That's my favorite.
Yep. We wanted to do a premium tier of ridiculous emojis, but you can't do it. Either people are members and they can have emojis, or they can't. You can't actually make like a higher tier, I guess, because we were going to be really silly with it and make ridiculous emojis. All right. T-Rex Pet Shop says Don Jr. got his account back because his bank faced too much backlash. Wow. Thousands canceling their accounts, maybe. Tim, does Mr. Bokus have a self-cleaning litter box? You can get one on our website. He hates it.
Yeah, he doesn't like to go inside of boxes. He really enjoys the open ones.
He's claustrophobic.
So I scoop it out daily, or Kara does.
I am glad to hear that Don Jr. got his account back, because I don't want to say too much, but let me just say we do business with PNC, and we had a meeting about. We had a meeting about it. So, if you know what I mean, and we were very excited to hear John Rich was opening a bank, and so let me just say we had a meeting about it, but. If they did right by Don Jr., then I want to make sure we encourage doing the right thing.
I am with you there, except they didn't do right by him. They canceled his bank account and then gave it back when they were afraid. I think that's an indication that they'll do it again in the future.
Perhaps, but if we now all say, we don't care that you did what we asked, we are going to punish you anyway, they'll say, okay, then we have no incentive to ever.
Point, yeah.
So we need to say, thank you, PNC. I'm sure it was all a big error. Don't do it again. And they'll say, you got it, we won't.
Jeremy will probably just make a bank for you guys, so it's all good.
He's listening.
Oh, man. Jeremy, I hate PNC.com. Are you tired of woke bank shutting you down? Go to Jeremy's bank. We'll take your money. Quite literally, don't give your money to people who hate you.
Give your money.
Deposit it here.
Jeremy's going to come out in a week with Jeremy's bank. Oh, no.
Use an ATM in the video.
I mean, that is actually funny. He's like, don't give your money. Literally give me your money. That'll be great. All right. Zach Dar says, Tim, if you use the name of the channel that appears on YouTube and not the URL, no one will be confused about what channel you're talking about. It's Tim Pool on YouTube. That's it. If you go to YouTube and search for Tim Pool, that's the channel. The problem is people get different results, and that's always been the difficult thing.
Like some people get the Timcast channel, and they think it's the Tim
Pool
channel.
YouTube.com/TimcastNews shows the name as Timcast, and then YouTube.com/Timcast shows the name as Tim Pool, and I never did that. One day, YouTube just they changed my channel's name from Timcast to Tim Pool.
That's weird.
Yep. And I
they
think
synced it with your Google account or something?
It was something like that where they were like, your channel is now your name.
It's been so confusing. I've got two accounts that are on with different email addresses because when I made them in 2008, you couldn't have two accounts under one email address. And now I can't merge the accounts. And then they had Google Plus. Like they didn't know. It was just such a mess in the 2008 era.
John Goodwin says dark chocolate is extra nuts. Mm-hmm. One of the ideas for Jeremy's chocolate is a dark chocolate bar that's just an extra large king size bar.
Yeah. So we're getting into race chocolate now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that was the point I was saying. Like,
and
just
body shaming.
Call it
body
pitch,
shaming.
Call it pitch black. It'll be delicious.
No, but he could do
the Lizzo chocolate bar.
He could do the body positivity bar, and it's just like a spattered chocolate in an odd shape, and it's like, don't hate it. It's still delicious. It just looks weird.
Tim, I don't understand why you don't talk about your poo chocolate bar. Why don't you just
I
try
do.
to
The
sell
poo bar?
that?
I understand
Your poo
why.
bar.
Pooh bar.
I think you should try to sell that.
It was really good.
What about if it was like a chocolate bar that looked like a pregnant guy, and when you bit into the stomach, there's like a little jelly bean
A white
inside of it?
chocolate
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah, what
something like
if?
that.
What if that?
What if-
was- what if that?
Let's get creative. What if we just threw it on a whiteboard?
What if?
All right. Let's.
Oh God.
Here we go. Duloc says, Tim, I'm a 26-year-old blue-collar worker. I have been with my wife for 8 years. I have a 4-year-old son with another one on the way, and hopefully my generation isn't a complete loss. I will be at the Crystal Cove every weekend.
Nice.
Glad to hear it. It's taking so long to do everything. I'm about to lose my mind. I just don't understand why everything takes so long.
Remember, the process is the destination.
Bro, we have
Enjoy
been
the
trying
ride.
for a year and a half. The new studio was supposed to be done 1 year ago, and it's been over a year. Now, I get it. Material supply shortages. We can't get the fiber installed. But I'm just like, I got to be honest. I know that if I stopped doing this show and went down and did it myself, it would all be done in a week. That's the most annoying thing about everything. Yeah, Phil's got this look, and I'm like, I'm telling you, bro.
I just think a week is a little short because but I feel your pain. I had someone, I'm trying to do some work on my house in New Hampshire, and it took a month and a half just to get the architect to do the measurements and draw up the existing plans, not like the stuff that we're going to change. A month and a half just for him to measure and give me the plans for the existing house, so that way we can decide on the changes. I feel you.
We're going to build like a multiple Faraday cage system where it's like a cage inside of a cage, possibly inside of a cage. But we need to get the materials sooner than later because it might take 8 months for them to arrive.
I forgot who
so
came up
cool.
with the quote, but it's if you want something done, do it yourself.
Yep. See, Brett Ain't Dead in the members chat says bureaucracy, Tim. No. It's something else. It's, I forget what it's called. But every step of the way when a task is delegated to someone else, the amount of time it takes to resolve that task increases. That's just a reality. Mm-hmm. So there's only so much you can do.
Exponentially increases too as
Right.
it goes down to more and more people.
And then it ends up with one person who's at the bottom of the chain being like, I'll get to it when I get to it. And then eventually you walk in one day and you're like, what happened to that thing I said? And this happens a lot. It's like, hey, 6 months ago, we were supposed to do this thing. Whatever happened to it? Oh, I guess we forgot. Yep.
At the Daily Wire, they're not forgetting Jeremy's razors. They're not forgetting to make their chocolate bars over there. Doing something.
Well, a lot of this is the economy screwed up. Like the coffee stuff, it's remarkable. I don't think it's any individual organization's fault that every single company is dealing with shortages and they're unable to produce what we need from them. That's a reality of Biden's economy. So that I get, but it is really frustrating that it's like, why are we having, in order to get the coffee shop up, it's like once a week, there will be a 10-minute conversation between parties and then they'll move 1 inch. And I'm like, why? Like, how is that possible?
Are they charging you for that?
No.
Okay.
It's like you'll meet. They'll say, we got to do measurements. Then they'll say, next week, Thursday, we can come in and do the measurements. They come in for 20 minutes, they do the measurements. Then they say, okay, next week, Thursday, we can give you the schematics. Then we say, okay. Then they come and give it. We go over it. We say, this has got to change. Like, okay, give us a week to change them. And it's just like, it's insane. And I'm ready to be like, I'm ready to go to a thrift store and just buy a bunch of garbage, stack it up around the walls, and put an espresso machine from Best Buy in there and be like, shop's open. And then from there, we can every week add a new thing and build up. That's the annoying thing about how
I guess
trying to build a business and then open.
If we get
works.
the floors done, we could do that.
I honestly, the building's there. It exists. I'm ready to just like open the door and be like, we serve nothing. We don't have any permits.
Let's
Put the
hang
door.
out.
Yeah, hang out. And I'm not even kidding. We'll hire someone to just stand there and like we can put up some tables and y'all can play board games or something.
Maybe you should get like 6 things building at once so that they all start staggering in and getting completed.
We'll start with a folding table for $20 from Walmart. I'll buy a couple $100 espresso machine. We won't sell the espresso because we don't have the permits, but you can have some if you want. And that's where we'll be for now. You can hang out. We'll put a TV and video games in there. I'm not even kidding. I'm ready to just do that. I'm not even joking. It's been since December. That like, and every day it's like, oh, now there's another problem. You know what? I'm done with problems. I'm done talking about it. I'm ready to just get someone to go nail a TV to the wall, put the mounts up. We'll stick a switch under it, and y'all can play Mario Kart all day. It's there. People should be hanging out.
Is there a working bathroom?
Yes, there's like 6.
Yeah, then you're good.
Yeah. Bathrooms work. There you go.
Wi-Fi will help, but
No Wi-Fi.
Just as long as you get the bathroom.
Is it
Actually, no, I think we do have Wi-Fi.
Then you
I don't
really
know.
have very few things limiting you.
I guess the issue is it would just be like a non-permitted space.
Oh, permits, yeah.
Yeah, but if we're not selling anything, it doesn't matter. Like, people are allowed to come into my building. It's my building. I own it.
Yeah.
Come in, hang out, play board games. I think that's a good idea.
no coffee? Before coffee's sold?
Coffee's free.
Free coffee?
Free coffee. And we'll just get, like, some
Nah.
store-bought.
Don't do it until it's ready. Don't do it until you're going to start selling stuff because you'll start incurring a loss immediately. Things will get damaged.
We already are. That's
but
the problem.
It's the damage that incurred by traffic.
But that's a reality. I'm just saying this. We open those doors and let people come in, and then all of a sudden, magically, things will start getting done. Everyone's like, well, we'll be another week, and don't worry. No, no, actually, we have a show on Friday. You have until Wednesday to get it done or you're fired. And they're going to be like, okay, we'll get it done. This is the crazy thing about everyone I've ever worked with. It's like, you tell them, hey, we need this done by tomorrow. It gets done the day after. You say, okay, fine. 2 days is fine. Then 4 days later, they're getting it done. And then if you give them 4 days to do it, okay, I understand it's really stressful, so you need a week. Then 3 weeks later, it's done. You got to be like, if you don't get it done, you're out. Bye. Have a nice day.
I find people respond extremely well to say Thursday by 4 o'clock, you have it done. And if they don't, reprimand. That's the way. Because people, if you're like, get it to me whenever, if you need an extra day, it's going to take whenever.
People need deadline. A lot of people need deadlines because deadlines are the motivating factor for an enormous amount of the population. If you tell people that there is no deadline, it's open-ended, they're going to do things at their own pace. If you give them a deadline and they say, okay, then they've agreed to it, then they'll stress. They've said yes, they've agreed to that time, so they internalize that as their own commitment, and they're like, oh man, I gotta blah, 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 blah. Or at least they're more likely to do that. I can't say that for everybody.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to check and see if it's possible, but here's my idea. Mount some TVs, bring in some sofas. We'll grab them from a thrift store. Who knows? I don't care. Then if you're a member of the website, you can come and hang out. And we'll start with that. Front door will be like, it'll be locked. You knock. Someone will be there and they'll be like, howdy. And you're a member of Timcast.com. They'll be like, yep. I'm like, let me pull up your account. Boom. Nice to meet you, John. Welcome. Come on in, hang out.
It might end up, though, that 3 months go by and you're like just paying employees to stand around and it's just incurring loss after loss. And you're like, dude, I could have hired 3 people for this.
You are incorrect.
I mean, if you're not selling anything.
So we are already losing money on the people sitting around because we have to have people there as it is. You can't have an empty building. So why don't I just let people come hang out? Because then it's going to be like, okay, people are here. You need to start figuring out ASAP. Like, the building's not empty. We have to have people working there all the time. And so all we're doing is everyone's sitting there right now being like, well, when it gets done, it gets done. And I'm like, nah, not anymore. I'm opening the doors. Open the doors. We'll open at 9 and we'll close at 9 or whatever. And I'll hire a guy. I mean, bro, if I hire someone who's a fan for like $15 an hour to hang out, play video games all day, I really don't, that's not the big of a loss. And I think that investment will actually get things moving faster. You're going to have people coming in and they're going to be hanging out and it will start something. This is the problem with traditional brick and mortar stuff. You invest a large sum of money to create the foundation, and then once it's done and everything's beautiful, you unlock the door and then cross your fingers, you get your money back. But I've always said the way I like doing business is just start doing it, figure it out, and build it as you go. Which would mean at this point, I'm done waiting. It's been 4 months. I'm frustrated. The coffee's taken 4 months, and this company let us down. And so I'm just like, I'm sick of it. The crazy thing is, I've been talking about this fact-checking nonprofit, and it's like, well, it's going to take another X amount of months to register with all the different states. And I'm like, this is insane that it takes so long to do this.
I think I trust your instincts. I think you do things different than a lot of people, but that's fine. You're successful, so. Yeah.
I think we should just start by being like, it's a club. It's a private building for private members. Members of Timcast.com, you can come and hang out whenever you want. And then once we get the first floor done with the actual coffee bar and the plumbing and everything, then we'll open those doors up to the public with the permits and everything, and the club moves to floor number 2, and then ultimately club is floor number 3.
Just starting is probably a good idea because that tends to be the thing that slows people down the most is waiting for the right time, being like, well, we don't have this, or I don't have that, or I don't have this particular thing. Just going and being like, all right, we're going to go and do it, and we'll make it work. It gets things in motion and gets things going. So I don't think it's a bad idea.
Yeah, I think couple people working $15 an hour and their job is literally just to hang out. Like I could get someone who's in school and be like, do your homework. Be here, unlock the doors, order food, do your schoolwork, play your video games, and that's your job. You're just here to basically like watch things. And then we'll have a club and people can come and hang out and there ain't nothing in there.
The chat's yelling, you have to have liability insurance first.
We do. We have we have all that. The problem is it's like the contractors to build everything out, it's getting delayed, and now it's been 3 months. How has it been 3 months? We can't get someone to put some 2x4s with a big old plank of wood on top of it. Granted, we need plumbing, that I understand, to do the, you know, and then, but we're not even, like, at 3 months, we should have at least had a plan for the machines we're going to get, the coffee supply's been delayed, and I'm like, you know what, man? The purpose of the place isn't to sell coffee and make $1 million selling coffee. The purpose of the place is to create a community hangout. You can do that in a building, so I'm just like, I'm ready to just open the door. We'll figure it out. I'm sure I'm going to get some lawyer or someone being like, well, now listen, Mr. Pohl, I understand your frustrations, but you've got to take into consideration. That's how it always goes.
Someone's like,
Hey, here's breaking news. We got sued several times. I'm not supposed to talk about that either. There you go. Happy Friday, everybody.
The news is broke.
Yep.
Yeah. Someone I was, and when I was telling you about, hey, it might cost this amount of money, someone's like, Ian, Tim just bought $2,000 in candy bars, dude. Bruh. Okay, yeah, that's true. That's big.
But that was in direct support of the Daily Wire.
It was coffee and steak.
What they're doing, and I want to support what they do. I want them to do more of it. I want people to buy their bars. I want more people to do exactly what they're doing, speaking up, speaking out, and engaging in culture in this way. I want those candy bar wrappers to have. I want to spread that culture. I want people who come here to be like, what's a he-him bar? I'll be like, don't you know about what the Daily Wire did? The culture building can't just be one company doing it. We have to actively engage with and spread the culture building. So that's what that's all about. That's what I want to invest money in. That's why I want to spend money on the cafe. And when you walk up to the counter to buy your coffee, there will be a he, him, she, her bar from Jeremy's Chocolate. Delicious. And then we'll be like, that's a large coffee. And would you like to add any Jeremy's Chocolate to your coffee purchase? And actually, yeah, I will take one. Which one has the nuts? Oh, I get it. All right. So, yeah, we'll try and get that stuff done. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, Tim, say yes, I'll drive down, hook up the TVs, move furniture in, no charge, teamwork. We will be reaching out to you, Raymond G. Stanley Jr., and then maybe we just make you captain of the club because you're basically captain of the club as it is, and waffles. But we'll figure it out. All right, my friends. Yeah. A lot of people are saying procrastination. All right. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, become a member at timcast.com because I'm basically trying to make it a multifaceted thing. You are supporting our work. You're supporting the website. But what we're going to try and do, and it may not work out this way because one of the things I'm learning, each different venture has to be its own entity. So the club, it can't be for Timcast members because it has to be separate for liability reasons. So it will be its own separate club, but we'll figure out a way to make these cool things because what I would like to do is create a one-stop shop where if you're a member of timcast.com, you get all these benefits. But I think for liability reasons, we can't. It has to be like the physical space has its liabilities, its insurance. And as a company, it has to be responsible for its own income. So we'll figure something out, though, because definitely has to be separate. We already have issues with the fact that we have a skate park in this building with people who are not skate park related. It causes insurance issues.
You could do an umbrella corp like Google owns YouTube. So if you have a Google account, you can use your YouTube with this.
Nope.
So, what?
Can't
so
do
if you made like X Corp, then it could own with your X Corp.
We can't have a corporate insurance and then add on a separate building that does a totally separate thing because it would conflict with the insurance. It has to be a separate entity.
What if X Corp owns the entity of the coffee
and the
shop?
Liability,
it owns
the
Timcast,
liability transfers up to the parent company. Yeah. So separate companies. We'll figure it out. Anyway, become a member at timcast.com. We're working on it. Chrissy, do you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, if you want to go follow me over at The Reaction on Chrissy Clark or also our documentary that I was talking about earlier, Damage, the Transing of America's Kids, you can find that at damage.dailycaller.com.
And people can follow you on Twitter.
Yeah, at Chrissy Clark _. Thank you so much.
Hey everybody, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm a journalist here. My name is Alad Eliyahu. You could follow me on Twitter at Alad Eliyahu, and my work's also posted on the Timcast News Twitter and website, but make sure to follow us at Timcast News on Twitter.
I am Phil That Remains, Phil Labonte, the vocalist for All That Remains, anti-communist and counter-revolutionary. You can find me on Twitter at Phil That Remains, on Instagram at Phil That Remains official. Yeah.
I'm Ian Crossan. Follow me at Ian Crossan. And be cool to your siblings. If you have them, you're very lucky. So take advantage of that. Tell them you love them. And, let yourself love them.
I like that. Follow me on Twitter at Kellen PDL. Thank you guys and have a good weekend.
Check out the Culture War podcast with Tim Pool on Apple and Spotify if you have the time over the weekend. It's a 2-hour conversation with Pete Parada, formerly of The Offspring, talking about vax mandates, what it was like in the music industry, what it was like for him. He tells a little bit of his backstory. And we've got more awesome guests for that show coming up. And if you want to check it out, it would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all Monday.